lips. Could I taste them for real? Longing for you, longing for you. Oh, but I can't get back. What can I do? What can I do when your train is gone? I don't wanna go back, back. Don't wanna go back. If you are not with me, hey, do you read me? Go back, back to where we came from. If my hands are empty, hey, do you read me? Go back. sit. We're falling like stars, and I didn't notice the chaos inside my heart. Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? You thought I knew. When were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? You thought I knew. I feel so close to you. But if you really knew, were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? You thought I knew. Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? You thought I knew. You thought I knew. You thought I knew. Laying down my cards on the table, sending out a message in a bottle. Came in through the door like a hurricane, and I hope you won't get fickle, 'cause you swept me up mine. I'm losing my cool when I'm here right next to you. I'm losing my cool. Yeah, I'm losing my cool when I'm under your control. I'm losing my cool. Yeah. I'm losing my cool. I'm losing my yeah. Keeping the shades on, though there's dark clouds. 'Cause if you look in my eyes, you would see it all. And I gotta keep my head above the surface. Oh yeah. But your waves pulls me in, and I can't hold it back again. I'm losing my cool when I'm here right next to you. I'm losing my cool. Yeah, I'm losing my cool when I'm under your control. I'm losing my cool. Yeah, I'm losing my cool. I'm losing my cool.
Welcome to the SMITE Minor League. Finch here, joined by Ryan Agro Bailey as we take a look at some pretty important matchups here in Europe.
Especially the first one to kick us
It's
off.
huge,
we'll get there in a minute, but Insignum versus Optimus Gang is going to be an incredible match to watch. I'm very excited.
It's going to be very telling for the way the rest of the split's going to end up rolling out, so I'm going to be very excited to see that. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at where all the teams are already shaken up as we move our way into the league, kind of see who's up at the top, who's near the bottom. We know already that it's Optimus Gang that's up at the top, right, and Sigma right there behind them, so a lot going to be riding on that. But these are the matchups you can look at. We already sort of hinted, right, that Insignum against Optimus Gang is going to be the first one we look at. That's not the only big one. And Optimus Gang has a big day. They got to take care of Exordium at the end, too. Exordium
is definitely a team that you can't overlook if you're Optimus Gang. It's a team that's in the middle of the pack right now, tied with Milky Way for that third, fourth position. And we've said top three this whole time is where you want to be. Got to finish in that top three. So Exordium can really put themselves in a great spot to finish there if they can find a win against OG.
They absolutely can kind of change their day around if they grab those wins. Take a look here at where Exordium already are. They're right there, right now, in that third, fourth position there with Milky Way. I believe the tiebreaker might be going the way of Milky Way. We'll take a look at it for sure. But Optimus Gang, undefeated up to this point. If they want to stay undefeated, they got a true test coming for them later on today. Sacred Speed Buff and the Poppy still got a little bit of work to try and clean up. That Sacred Speed Buff roster has had some shakeups there, so maybe not a bit of surprise. It's taking them a little while to get going.
Very much so. I think that it'll be a pretty good end towards the fall split for them, but they're going to have their work cut out for them because especially with Optimus Gang's day, they're technically going up against the second and third seeds right now. So this will give us a much clearer picture after just today of what European minor league is going to look like. If Optimus Gang somehow go 0-2 today, then it really feels wide open.
And you mentioned it, that they're going to have a big day. It's a lot of that to me is going to be relying on Johnny, but a lot on Zero, especially in their matchup, the fourth one today up against Exordium, where I feel like Kha'Zix has kind of been the one that's really stuck out for them in that matchup. So as long as I feel like that matchup can kind of go Optimus Gang's favor, they can make sure Johnny's in a good position, they've got a big chance to win that match at the end of the day.
Johnny definitely has been the standout player for Optimus Gang so far in the fall, but I do think that you're looking at the mid lane as well in how well they can do there. How well can Caspanify and Fusify work that dual lane and stay ahead in that spot?
Sure.
I think that Optimus Gang is a pretty well-rounded team, and that's why they've been undefeated so far. But they can't let whatever happens in their matchup against Insignum kind of derail them in their later setup against Exordium. Whether it's a loss and you feel tough, it's tough. You feel like you gotta reset mentally and get ready.
Right.
If you maybe get a big win, you can't just be celebrating and overlooking your opponents later on in the day. So I think that being mentally tough is going to be important today for them.
Exordium also have a double header today. It's not just Optimus Gang, at least on broadcast for them, so they've got to also go up against Sacred Speed Buff. That is kind of a matchup that I'm expecting them to be able to grab. Sacred Speed Buff have been struggling, and Exordium have looked good. But, I mean, remember, from Sacred Speed Buff, or the ones that they end up losing, they've got to make that because they lost some players, they've got to make those adjustments against a big team like this. I'm looking at the mid lane in particular. Yeah. How's Angry Day for Exordium going to be performing for them? How's the Sacred Speed Buff roster going to do with Streak Up and Stefan there for them? That's kind of the matchup that I'm watching.
Sacred Speed Buff definitely seems to have the majority of the issues right now, I'd say, among any one roster in the minor league. I think the Poppies, despite having a very similar record, have looked a little bit better just based on the eye test. But Sacred Speed Buff is a team that has a lot of talent. You mentioned Mr. Stefan, you mentioned Streak Up. Those guys have been around basically all of Season 5 and even beyond that. So I do think that there's potential here for Sacred Speed Buff, but every game is now a must-win for them. We're already at that point. We're halfway through the split.
Yeah, you absolutely got to make sure that you're getting it done here at this point. The second set, another one I feel like is going to be pretty important. Maybe not so much as the other ones. It's Milky Way, who we said is kind of up on the rise, but they're going up against Poppies, who've had some struggles. And I'm kind of out of things to say for this Poppy squad. You know what I mean? They have so much talent, so much experience. I'm just expecting better at this point.
Yes, but they basically all of their losses have been really close. I mean, they've had a lot of.
You got to start closing them out, though.
I hear you. I agree. But a loss is a loss and a win is a win. But they aren't always created completely equal. And I do think that the Poppies, like I said, despite having a very similar record to Sacred Speed Buff, I think they've looked a little bit better. I think Warchi's transition into the mid lane has been largely successful. I think he's looked pretty good. So we'll see if they're able to turn it around, but they've got their work cut out for them because Milky Way went 2-0 last week, and they're coming into this game hot.
I wouldn't be surprised if that one goes the way of Milky Way, but Poppy certainly could pull off an upset there. It was how I would characterize it. But the first set, the one that we said is the biggest one here today, Optimus Gang up against Insignum. That's the one that I'm really looking forward to. I mean, how could you not be, right? Insignum have been so dominant throughout the entirety of Season 5, in spring and summer, the ones that were the representatives, but now Optimus Gang able to kind of show their mortal for the first time.
But in week 1, it was a pretty close matchup, and it was kind of a strange draft from Insignum. They tried to change some things and do a little bit different in the draft. I think we're going to see classic Insignum here. I think we're going to see Lasbra take something like Ratatoskr into the jungle. We'll see Death Panther on a traditional controlling mid-mage, and it's going to attempt to be just a clean win for Insignum. I think Optimus Gang will likely try and put Johnny on a hyper carry like the Ao Kuang, like the Bakasura, and kind of let him go and see what happens.
Well, this is going to be their opportunity to try and get it done. Let's see what it is in the picks and bans that they try and use to get this set going their way for Insignum. And I think maybe if you're Insignum, you can make the case, right? It was a best of one. That one kind of got away from us, yes. But now is when that goes away. And for my money, right? Now you know exactly what Optimus Gang have done. They've done it 5 times already to great success. They want to get Johnny ahead, and that's how they're going to be playing. You can't allow that to happen again. Can't let that catch you off guard again. You got to come in and actually get it done if you want to be the top seed.
I expect Insignum to be really focused in on what Johnny's going to pick. And I think that you are almost wanting Johnny to pick Ao Kuang if you're prepared. It seems a little bit weird, but Ao Kuang's a character that you can't really afford to ban in the top 4.
Right.
So instead of banning it, I think you ban normally and then make your whole draft around assuming he's going to pick something like Ao Kuang, like Bakasura, and then be able to shut that down. It's often what you have to do against teams that have players that are really good at one particular pick, but it isn't a pick that's really ban-worthy.
That's right. I don't want to make it sound like Johnny's a one-trick because he's very good at a lot of other junglers too. But you're right. I think that he's so elevated with that Ao Kuang that you kind of do have to play around it to a certain extent. But already some interesting bans coming out. Sercat and Ratatoskr, 2 junglers being banned by Optimus Gang. The Amaterasu from the Chernobog is being taken away. That means that Baron's still up. Freya is still out there to be picked up. Athena as well. A lot of strong picks that didn't get banned.
Baron first over Freya, I think, is a pretty wise decision here from Insignum. They're a team fight squad. They like to control you pretty well. Sure. And I think that Baron, whether it's 4-0 in that solo lane or in the support role, I think that is a really good way for them to control these team fights. And Zero's done very well in the Sobek as of late, if my memory serves me well enough. And Sobek being taken away here from Optimus Gang is a pretty good look.
Yeah, no reason why not to pick it up. I think Sobek's one of the better gods you can have once you start to break out of that laning phase. And even in the laning phase, he may not win it, but he's not going to struggle, right? So it certainly doesn't hurt you at all to have him over there. Jingwei kind of feels the same way, right? Where she can, maybe she won't have pressure, but you can pretty much rely on Jingwei coming out in good shape from your lane too. So right now, Optimus Gang, now with the Ao Kuang in there, have 2 safe laners and Johnny on his carry.
That's no surprises. Insignum should not be surprised by these first 3 picks. These are picks that Optimus Gang have played over and over and over again so far in the fall split. So this is where we get to see how well Insignum has prepared, how well they've done their homework, and what their, frankly, game plan is against this Ao Kuang, because no one in the fall split yet has been able to shut it down very well. Poppies didn't fall victim to it until 45+ minutes.
I don't think he got to execute that game until the very, very end, right?
Right, but eventually he still did enough to get the win, and even without executing you, he's doing enough damage to really put pressure on you.
That's a good point. His impact was mitigated, but it wasn't 0, right? It was still very, very good. That's just how strong he is on this pick, even if he can't get the most out of it. So I want to see what Insignum's plan is, trying to slow it down. It looks like it won't involve Odin, though. They're banning that one themselves, along with the Agni, which could be pretty strong out of the mid lane, too, if they wanted. That nice control could be something to have. So they're taking those all away, but that means Optimus Gang are going to go right to the Soul.
Lots of magical damage so far from Optimus Gang. Just between Ao Kuang and Soul, you build some extra magical defense against the Sobek solo, and you're looking pretty good. I do wonder if this Baron is going to be able to stay safe enough in the solo lane for Insignum. If that is where it's going, we'll see with this last selection. Right. I do not think it's going to be Baron mid right now. That just seems a little bit too greedy, as it's going to be Opwash instead. I like it here from Insignum. Their team fight's nuts.
It is.
It is just insane. They've got great burst damage. They've got great control. Opwash could fall victim to this Ao Kuang, but as long as Death Panther is able to stay safe and put out damage, he can one-shot Johnny at any given time if that water illusion's down. I think Insignum did a great job.
Yeah, and Lasbra's on the kind of pick, too, that really, if it can get off to a good start, it doesn't have to be an excellent start, just stay close with where Johnny is in this Ao Kuang, he should be able to pressure him. I think that Erlong is going to come online sooner than this Ao Kuang is, and certainly have a big impact. Yeah.
But Lasbra does need to be very wary of those executes, because no CC immunity in the kit. The heal takes forever to go off. A turtle shield doesn't help you in the turn when it comes to the execute. So I do think that Lasbra is going to need to stay away from Johnny unless he's got numbers in his advantage.
Well, we'll see how it ends up working on. No big surprises coming out from this Optimus Gang roster, so Insignum should have a game plan for it. Are they going to stay undefeated, or can Insignum overthrow them here? Let's get it over to the action to find out.
Thank you so much, Finch and Aggro. Into the game we go then. Optimus Gang undefeated in the fall split. And Signum, well, their only defeat so far was against Optimus Gang. But coming into the split, Taco, and Signum were the #1 team in the minor league of both EU and NA.
Up until Optimus Gang caught them sleeping at the very start of this fall split. But what's more questionable for me, Hindu, and we were just talking about it, is why do teams keep allowing Johnny to get probably his most ideal God pick selection?
I don't know. And at this stage, you're kind of like, okay, everyone's just trying to prove that they can beat it. He's a one-trick wonder at this point, because it's mean to say that about Johnny, but at the same time, is if teams just keep giving him this God that he keeps on winning with, what's the harm in just keep going?
And I don't doubt Johnny's skill level either. I don't think that you are either with that statement. It's just that we want to see Johnny be forced onto something else. I want to see how a team or how he'll perform outside of just this one God pick, because this is all we really had to see out of Johnny the entirety of the fall split, it feels.
Sure, I think it's a little bit worrisome in a lot of ways for Optimus Gang, because in one state, the minor league, how it's going to be played out this year, the top 3 teams will compete in a mini round robin to work out who's going to take that world championship spot potentially from the minor league to come and compete against the pros and the rest of the world. But talking about that a little bit more, I mean, Johnny could end up falling into a lull of self-confidence of constantly getting out Kwang and then walk into a brick wall and go, no, you can't play this anymore.
Well, there's that, and there's also the concern that I still firmly believe that one of the primary reasons you do SML to begin with is because you want to show that you can compete at a pro level. And if I'm an SPL player and all I ever see is Johnny on the AO, you have to wonder, well, what else does he actually have in that God pool? And I just don't think that Johnny is really having a chance to display everything that he can offer in the jungle, because mechanically, he's always been regarded as a fairly sound player. Speaking of which, Joshi actually going to get plugged right back in. Persistent Gus going to get some great poke out, and now Kaspanify is on the chase.
You don't need me, you're just doing it all. No, we did great beads out of Kaspanify there, though, in response from the Impale from Joshi. So generally evened up in the duo lane at the moment. Fusify farming away. And talking more about Optimus Gang, I mean, this team, Taco, once upon a time, pretty much this whole roster was an SPL team. They've all been around for a long time.
Everybody's got a little bit of experience by this stage now, and I still definitely think that Insignum are trying to gun for #1. They want that title back, and they're going to have to wrestle it away from Optimus Gang. This won't be an easy one.
No, it won't be, but I think the early game is where we're going to focus on to begin with. Early game kind of lasts for the first 10 to 15 minutes. Basically, laning phase is what it's all about. And at the start of this one, Baron with the blessing, which we've seen more of. Interesting to see Sibi go for the Mage's blessing here. Something we don't see as much of these days, even from the Mages in mid lane.
I think it's mostly just because of the fact that as a Sun Wukong, usually your poke is pretty essential during that laning phase, especially up against the Baron, who's got the Guardian's blessing as is. So not only does Zero have a little bit of prots, but he also doesn't have to worry about the creep waves hitting his tower line, because he'll still be getting that last hit benefit of the gold.
If you're just tuning in here, obviously the minor league is about the potential future stars of the SPL taking on one another, and this split is also the most important one for them as they get a chance to take on the big boys at the World Championships. One of these teams from the minor league will make it through, and these two from Europe, honestly, are two of the favorites to make it there.
Or at least they're the two that everybody seems to be expecting one or the other to come out on top for.
Especially with the standings too, Taco. I mean, look at how the position now, 5-0 and 4-1 coming into today.
It's pretty much impossible, I believe, for anybody else to try and catch up to them at this point.
It's a rough ask, that's for sure. Fusify, looking for the pluck, splits the difference between the two, but good old tail whip to the rescue, gets him out of the danger. Still, the trade's going off in the dual lane consistently, but no one's really getting too low. Health potion-wise, though, Josh and Kaspanify have only got one each left, but supports are just relying on the abilities they've got in the kit now.
Insignum's duo lane have got to be a little bit mindful of their mana control early on. I think Fusify and Kaspanify will probably have a much easier time with the Sobek and Jingwei. Jingwei, especially with that passive, can fly right back into the lane, but I still feel as though Kaspanify will want to play this laning phase rather passively. As a Jingwei, you never really want to over-aggress into the on her, because 1v1 early on in that laning phase should almost always go in Joshi's favor.
Especially when Joshi hits that level 5 too. That Desert Fury cooldown, only 75 seconds, so you can spam that relatively often. We did just see Kaspanify return to base though, pretty early on, as you were saying, Taco. Picked up Devour's Gauntlet's rank 2, and then he's going to base again, but he did pick up a ward last time, places that down. And now he's actually going to hang around instead. I was about to say, why is he basing again? He's not going to have any gold.
Keep in mind, though, that Genetics already finished off those reinforced Greaves, trying to be especially tanky for this Optimus Gang roster, and I think that's mostly aimed towards Johnny. Terra, probably the most ideal target for Johnny to try and get his execute off onto, and so Genetics, more than aware of it, needs to be as tanky as possible.
And that's for in the early game where Terra's really susceptible to these ganks, just like most Guardians in the support role, right?
Yes, I think that Genetics as well, not having a CC immune ultimate is going to impact him just a little bit, but Terra does have some self-sustain, although he's going to take some time to get on there. Speaking of which, Sibby not going to have any chances for staying alive.
Nope. First blood goes over to Insignum. A good start for them. A good rotation, honestly, from Lasbra to help support that too. And he will get credit for that kill. Just finished off his boots, and that's what you're looking for in the early game. Try and get a bit of a consistent lead, and Erlang Shen is one that, if he does get ahead, he's going to be in an okay position.
I like the response, though, from Optimus Gang. Sure, they lost their solo laner in the process, but they were able to get off a successful purple buff invade for Insignum's duo, and that's just going to create a little bit of a diversion, because now Insignum, as opposed to maybe looking to gank Sibby again, probably going to have to be more prepared to defend their jungle.
Definitely interested to see how these worlds work out too. As we talk about the jungle, red buff being taken down by Insignum here. Everyone now hit level 5, so we're going to get all the ultimates involved in the game now. But experience, there's only really a difference in the jungle as it stands right now, with Lasbridge a little bit ahead of Johnny. Some of that will come down to that first blood, but also superior farming. Sibby, though, invading this blue buff and getting some support.
Sibby will end up confirming it as well. Zero just a little bit too late. Now the 72 transformation with the Tiger Stun coming in, but Johnny's going to get taunted back in. Great peel out of Lasbra.
Oh, Zeros went out, Zeros went in, then he uses the life of the party, gets the ultimate out of Sibby. Death Panther on the rotation, but the Monkey's in a bit of trouble here.
Sibby's actually going to go back in onto Zero, but the heal is just too much to handle. Sibby's going to end up getting outplayed, and Zero just laughing his way all the way home to the bank.
Don't know why Sibby went down there. I think he thought he could get the 100 to 0. Well, not 100 to 0, but 25%. Instead, it's another kill for Insignum, another kill for Lasbra, another bit of a lead for these Insignum boys to take to the bank.
That burst heal could not have been better timed for Zero, though, and I think he was expecting it. He wanted Sibby to try and collapse on top of him, but all by himself, the Wukong just now having finished off into a little bit of magical defense, and that's only the start of it. There just was not enough damage. And even if he does find the trade-out kill there, it's probably still in Zero's favor, because I highly doubt that Lasbra would have let that Wukong survive any longer.
Beautify actually aggressing towards Genetics as Kaspanify takes away the purple buff. Bit of a split difference here, but Optimus Gang have reinforcements coming in Johnny and Farrakrik floating nearby too. Insignum don't want to contest as there's nothing really up in the jungle now after losing that purple buff. Josh might get a nice impale hit. Not going to go for it though.
I think his impale might have been on cooldown for another second or two also, but even still, I do feel like Insignum's dual lane has been appropriately pressured. That's exactly the direction that Optimus Gang should be taking, knowing that Sibby is getting a little bit out-traded over here in solo lane, now sitting a level behind Zero, in fact, and Mages against Warriors is a time old tale.
Lasbridge just trying to catch Johnny in the stealth, can't find him unfortunately, but meanwhile, it's Beautify that's overextended him. The Desert Fury from Joshi combining with the Wall of Ghosts from Death Panther brings it down for Insignum to get their third kill. No Golf Fury attempts though. No mana really for Insignum.
I'm surprised that Lasbra didn't keep trying to apply pressure onto Kaspanify there. No mana on the Jingwei. Lasbra sitting topped up of everything. Even if Optimus Gang had started to try and make a rotation over to defend their Hunter, I still feel like Lasbra would have had the burst to take him down beforehand.
It's a much better start from Insignum though than the last time these two faced off against each other. Look a little bit more disciplined and organized now Insignum, which is what they were in the summer. Let's give credit where it's due. Just kind of slept to the start of this split.
It can be easy for a team that just came back from winning a LAN over in summer, feeling really good about everything, and Insignum maybe just not expecting the level of competition to raise as rapidly as it did in EU.
I still think Optimus Gang gets underrated for how long and how well they did in the Pro League when they were there too, so seeing this team generally stick together has been pretty solid. It shows they've got camaraderie and also, you know, communication on the right level if they're going to stick together for so long. They could make a run at Worlds, we'll find out. At the moment though, they're having trouble against Insignum here, who could actually even things up a little bit more so if they do find this win today.
And arguably, the later matches are probably considered some of the more important ones, just because this is the period where you can kind of gauge where everybody actually sits and how well they've managed to adjust to the current competitive meta.
Yeah, I think that's what happens generally in fall split. Well, in any split, really. The first half of the split is kind of like, okay, let's see what we're doing, let's see what other teams are doing and how we match up. And then round 2 of everyone facing off is where you get to go, okay, what have we learned? What have we adjusted to? Can we make the corrections in time to be able to beat these teams and make a real run of it? Gold Fury was leashed for a second there, and that's where Ward plays for more than anything else. But Death Panther's caught in an awkward spot. Johnny doesn't invest everything in here. He just gets a good bit of poke off and lurking in the waters from Fusify. This isn't doom and gloom, although Farrakrick overstayed there. That Supernova wasn't enough for the kill on Death Panther, so it doesn't work out too bad, but Sibby's in trouble.
And Sibby's still going to be able to Ox form right on out of there. That life of the party won't take down Sibby's life, and instead, Insignum maybe still looking elsewhere on the map. They were considering, I think, counter-initiating over there in the mid lane, but Optimus Gang probably recognizing something was up and decided to disengage instead. I like that call and the player discipline as well from Optimus Gang, because Insignum, I don't think Death Panther could have done a better job there self-healing.
Definitely, that was a very good little play from him there. I like how much Johnny invested too. Not too much, didn't take too much damage for free. Hung around in case, however. However, on that right-hand side, that Zero play on the Baron, you can start to see where the Baron has been adjusted slightly. That life of the party not instantly going to pull in everybody and no escape for everyone. The likes of, you know, Sun Wukong with the Ox stance and a few others can actually start to escape this now.
You can also see, though, where Sibby is still having his own troubles and struggles against all of these slows, the roots, the slows, the console application. Speaking of which, Lazarus now getting tossed up right into the middle of everybody from Optimus Gang, but Lazarus, no problem whatsoever, going to be looking for a taunt instead onto Fusify.
A little bit delayed in terms of that taunt, I feel like. I'm not sure if it was available for Lazarus at the time, because Death Panther popped his ultimate too. The pick was available for Fusify there, potentially. At the end of the day, he gets away with half health, and he'll survive.
He needed the turtle form to try and get the knockup to really capture Fusify inside of that crypt from the Alquash, but it happens. Every now and then, you're just going to have to watch a possible kill get away, and during these earlier phases as well, I'd imagine that Optimus Gang recognizing...
nice walls from Genetics. Lockup is good from Joshi too. No stealth available. Johnny bursted within an inch of his life and taken down by the Desert Fury. Insignum catch him in the jungle, and that's what you would need to do against Al Quan. Catch him alone.
That burst damage was unreal. Also, the jump in from Joshi. That is the aggressive stance that typically hunters would second guess themselves on, but knowing he had 2 other members for backup, dropping the Desert Fury for the big boon of damage is really all Insignum needed to start pulling this Gold Fury.
Gold Fury below half health. Now looking at the waters used by Fusify. This is a race. Insignum get the Gold Fury, but can they get away too? Fusify's tail whip and has to disengage because Spotify wants to close the gap, but Joshi prevents that with the pillar. Great play from Insignum. They get the Gold Fury and don't take any more damage.
Zero as well, nearly taking down Sibby again there by himself, but Sibby's 72 transformations will keep him safe one more time. And now with Gold Fury having been removed, and Optimus Gang even had vision over it with the Oracles, they were there to respond, but Farrakrick Supernova just not a reliable enough form.
Johnny gonna dive into the tower for Death Panther. Look at that burst damage coming through. Not even 4 items online yet, and Johnny just destroyed Panther, who only had beads available, and they wouldn't have saved him there either. Oof.
Tossing out the Dragon Call was just way too much. I think it was more than what Death Panther was even expecting, because he still had his beads and didn't even choose to try and avoid the slow. It just highly
They know there's
doubtful.
a ward here, Optimus Gang, just behind Insignum doing that Pyromancer, so it has to be reset. Genetics was making a rotation, but he walks into Johnny, who's getting some good damage and slows off, but a taunt from Lasper slows it down. Turnaround play from Genetics as he goes in with Zero, and Zero's gaze will end the life of Fusify. Genetics back towards the Tier 1 tower. As meanwhile in the jungle, the fight's still raging, but not in favor of Optimus Gang.
Zero's got his eye on Johnny. Isn't trying to let that AO come back in, but Sibby could use a little bit of help here. Still trying to zone away some of the other members of Insignum, and the fight's gonna dissipate for now, but Johnny is struggling just a little bit here in terms of not being interrupted on his damage.
That was one of those fights that happened in the jungle there where it was really over nothing. If one team gets ahead, they could actually capitalize on a Pyromancer a little bit more, but it was a very 50-50 play from both teams, because if you lose there, you're not really going to gain as much as you would like to.
Nice job by Zero, just to remind Johnny he's aware of where he's at. And speaking of which, though, Sibby might be looking for the transformation. Zero going in for the all-in, and he doesn't have that life of the party. No CC immunity for Johnny.
But he's got Lasbra and Panther on the rotation. Johnny and Sibby bite off more than they can chew. And under the tower goes Sibby, still being chased down by the whole of Insignum here on the right-hand side. Meanwhile, mid lane and left lane, Optimus Gang are pushing up the waves to try and answer this back. They may lose the tower on the right, or they may lose the one in the middle, but I guess not, because it looks like Fusify decided not to go for it.
Joshi now could play a little bit more aggressively here, and Sibby will expend his teleport to get back to the solo lane, but only to watch his tower fall with 3 members entirely too healthy for Sibby to try and engage upon. That's going to be an easy cleanup for Insignum.
Much better game from Insignum so far this week up against Optimus Gang, but the goal difference isn't that big at the moment as Joshi takes on Kaspanify. Kaspanify has to reposition, knowing that Genetics was just waiting around the corner on the Terror to enjoy some action as well. 1700 gold taco at 15 minutes. It's not much.
I almost feel like Joshi is playing a little bit too reserved, though, with this on her. I want to see him be a little bit more aggressive into Kaspanify. You have the advantage with this on her early on, and even now, after finishing the Executioner, he went for the Bloodforge as well, so his power spike indefinitely higher than Kaspanify at the moment.
So with that power spike, you just looking to try and take trades there over and over again? Is that you have to like use the Desert Fury, look for an Impale Desert Fury combo?
Desert Fury for cleanup, crew, I think is the general mindset here for Joshi, but also just that 75 power in general, really nice to have on her. Synchronizes incredibly well with his passive, and the amount of damage that he could probably do to Kaspanify with in-hands alone, we're not even factoring in the Impale. I just am surprised that Joshi is choosing to be a little bit more disciplined here.
Well, he's been focused a little bit by Fusify in the Sobek, who's hung around a little bit longer than you'd expect. I think as long as he plays it well around Gold Furies, because I think that's where Insignum are really strong here, is Gold Fury plays, especially with, you know, the composition to put together here.
The objective play is actually really interesting between these two teams because there is a little bit of a contrast between the sides. Hold that thought, though. Joshi now trying to take a chance to get aggressive with Kaspanify because he had Lasbra all along.
Got the airstrike out of Kaspanify and trade of the Desert Fury there. Fusify now in the rotation, Johnny semi nearby too. But this tier 1 tower under siege for a few seconds. The minions are running out, however. Genetics now coming along with everybody across the map. Only one not here is Sibby, who managed to get the tier 1 tower in right.
Keep in mind though, Kaspanify did lose his purification beads in order to get away. Nice impale from Joshi as well to create some distance between himself and Fusify, but now Johnny didn't expect Zero coming right around the corner.
Has to beads away from the life of the party. The pillar slows him down, but not enough. Lasper still giving chase, and the walls come down from Genetics. Johnny gets out, as does Fusify, but the turnaround is here. Optimus Gang to the rescue.
Supernova going to end up catching Zero and Lasbra right in the middle of it, but Genetics with a beautiful route onto Kaspanify and Firecrack going to give his team a little bit more space, and now Insignum, they're the ones who are looking to counter regress.
Zero goes down, but at the same time, great ult from Death Panther. Kaspanify cleans up Lasbra. Fusify still frontline as Joshi leaps away. In goes Kaspanify, but he eats some damage out of Death Panther once more. The only healthy member of Insignum. And Optimus Gang actually not wanting to overextend anymore. They realize their health bars are getting low. They're going to fall back. I don't know if they can do a Gold Fury, though.
Insignum just weren't able to guarantee any picks. Johnny now going to get a nice heal off of this red buff, as well as maybe catch out Deathbender if he isn't careful. Burst has already been expended. Johnny calling up the dragons now. Genetics might just be the new target.
He could be in trouble. Double dash down. Sibby choosing a different option. Impale, though, from Joshi catches Fusify. Then find the damage after the fact, though, from the Desert Fury just off the mark to secure the kill. Meanwhile, Kaspanify's on the Gold Fury.
Insignum are able to come back now. Optimus Gang took just a little bit too long. Even though they won the team fight, they could very well end up losing this Gold Fury.
Really could as well. Joshi now tanking it up, starting to beat it down, has the Bloodforge for sustain. Zero around the back, catches Kaspanify, and Kaspanify eats a bit of poke and force back. On the backside of the fight, however, Johnny was trying to get cheeky, and Lasbra caught him.
Lasbra able to taunt Johnny back in, but there's no chance of out-sustaining the Erlang at this stage. Johnny gonna end up taking an untimely spill here. Gold Fury still available, and Optimus Gang without their AO, not too sure they're gonna be very confident on contesting this one.
Fusify has no ultimate, but Sibby coming around the back to disrupt. Jump in from Fusify. Zero 1v1s Kaspanify and finds the win there. That's turning this battle further in Insignum's favor.
Gold Fury never had a chance to fully reset on its health bar, but Lasbra's got a new target in mind. It's It's Fusify, all the while Sibby sitting up inside of that somersault cloud, just trying to get a little bit of HP 5 regen.
Gold Fury goes the way of Insignum then over in a very extended team fight that was 3 or 4 minutes long there. 8-3 is the scoreline. The gold, though, even with the Gold Fury, is actually less than where it was a few minutes ago.
The second Optimus Gang lost Johnny, Gold Fury should have never been on their minds. They should have just immediately ran to the Pyromancer and accepted the trade out of the global objectives. Now, they're very likely going to end up just missing out on both of these opportunities, and Insignum will in fact claim the Pyromancer immediately after the Gold Fury. There is vision as well available for Insignum, so they're free to back here. They do need to be mindful, though, of Fusify in the gang trying to start up this Fire Giant.
I like the call, though, because on paper, experience-wise, they're in a good spot. Zero pulled into the sky towards Sibby, but on the backside, Johnny gets away from Lasbra. Desert Fury from Josh, he combines with Zero to bring down the tank for Optimus Gang and Fusify, but now the chase is on once more. Insignum on the warpath, but Johnny comes in.
Johnny came in on the backside, but it's going to be Lasbra who's in execute
The
range.
Fire Giant.
Lasbra's going to have the purification beads in time, no problem. Zero will end up taking down Johnny last and foremost, but Optimus Gang, they wanted this Fire Giant so badly, they needed to at least wait until Insignum had truly backed off.
But at the same time, I mean, they've done a good job of just stemming the bleeding a little bit. However, Tier 2 Tower, the left-hand side, is getting a lot of free damage on it from those minions too. That's a lot of gold being wasted on that side of the map too, and I'm talking about gold and experience because, well, we're 20 minutes in and no one's even close to level 20.
There is a mild experience lead, though, favoring
Optimus Gang.
Optimus Gang.
Yeah, this is where this game is weird. Look at the kills. 10-3 in favor of Insignum. Look at the objectives. 2 gold Furies and a Pyromancer to Insignum. How is Optimus Gang ahead on experience? Hello?
It's the mid and support, and that's where most of the difference is coming in from. Farrakrik has not really had much of a chance to participate in many of these engagements. Hasn't really.
He's not been, well, to be fair, he's been farming more than anything else, it feels like. You can see that by the player damage too. Sibby trying to stop Insignum doing the Fire Giant now, as is Fusify, but Fusify has been cornered into an awkward spot. The life of the party is going to bring Sibby into an awkward spot, but he's going to use the clone away. Fusify already dead, Johnny's still hanging around. But now it's a 4v5 with 2 frontline ultimates down for Optimus Gang.
That burst damage could not have been better, however, onto Farrakrik. And now Lasbra feeling confident one more time to repull this Fire Giant. Optimus Gang still has 2 members local to the area, but Kasmanify and Sibby, there's only so much that Jinwei and Sun Wukong can do.
Love the work from Zero Genetics to keep the zone going, but keep an eye on Johnny on the left-hand side. Kasmanify's 1 hit from death, has to airstrike away. Joshi leaps in looking for the Monkey King, and instead he gets out. Joshi falls to Farrakrik, who just held onto his abilities for the right time. Great turnaround from Optimus Gang.
Instantaneous supernova from Farrakrik. The moment Joshi went a little bit too far forward, but it's not over just yet. Lasbra now on the retreat. Johnny has been looking for this Erlang all game. He's been looking for anybody all game.
Just keep an eye on this mage, because technically it is an assassin. They're not going to die after tier 2. Instead, they're going to fall back to the Fire Giant once more. Kasmanify is here, back at full health. Sibby can go back to base and TP back in. Insignum know what's going on, so they're going to come and contest.
This is the 4th time the Fire Giant's been pulled and
going.
left at 30% health, but it's not over just yet. Lasbra going to get served up to the members of Optimus Gang, but Turtle Form on out of there.
Great work from Genetics with the wall, but Johnny still goes in on Lasbra. Look at the execute. Can't find it, however. Lasbra will survive, but on landing, Johnny and Sibby combine to bring him down. Fire Giant is still being done by the dual lane of Optimus Gang as the other 3 members work on zoning away Insignum.
Genetics doing everything he can to try and close the gap, but he won't be able to make it in time. Instead, he's a little bit too far up. Earth and Fury going to be forced out just to try and buy him a little bit more time. Sibby will also end up having to ult away here, but Optimus Gang, they get the Fire Giant.
And Insignum is still semi-hanging around here. That's why I'm kind of confused about why we're semi-hanging around at the same time. So just farming up, looking to base. This is weird fights that are going in favor of Optimus Gang because of experience. More than anything else, I feel the experience gaps is where the difference is being made.
Surprisingly enough as well, I think that it's the self-heal. There's so much self-sustain for Optimus Gang in comparison to Insignum, where they do have a little bit of AoE heals because of the Baron and the Terra.
I was going to say, I'd say they've got more healing on Insignum.
But it feels like Optimus Gang are able to survive in these fights a lot longer, and I think a large part of that is also just Farrakrik.
The Bancrofts. maybe as
The
well.
Bancrofts is
Yeah.
making a pretty significant difference.
And the Typhon's Fang as well, interestingly enough, which we don't see ridiculous amounts of. Mainly, you know, Johnny is the one that likes to go with this sort of sustaining build. I like the way Johnny's still playing these fights, though. Hanging around, not getting involved until the right moment. Talking about the right moment could be for Farrakrick in the mid lane. He's overextended and his Disapparate is on cooldown. Life of the party used, going to pull in Fusify. Sibby wrapping around the back as is Caspanify. Optimus Gang tried to flanking Signum, but they lose one of their Blackline members and their second one in Caspanify. Sibby's still alive for now, gets to the cloud in time. But look how healthy and Signum are hit.
This is an absolute nightmare for Optimus Gang. Sibby actually going to go back in because he thought he could take down Death Banner. Johnny will finish the job, but at the expense of his own life. 3 members already dead for Optimus Gang, and it's not letting up anytime soon because next on the menu is going to be Fusify.
Well, Taco, what do we say about that? It's pretty simple. You get a Fire Giant, you get a bit of confidence because you get a bit more regen, a bit more damage, a bit more survivability. But if you play a fight like that, like you're 10k in the lead, which you're not, Insignum ends up coming up huge there. They only lost Death Panther for that fight when Optimus Gang had the Fire Giant.
It just felt a little bit careless there from Farrakrick in terms of his positioning. No reason to be that far up by yourself into the face of when you could see everyone from Insignum right there in your lane.
It felt like Optimus Gang wanted to pinch from below with both rotations from the left-hand side and the right-hand side, but doing that, it left Farrakrick open. Now, whether he was too far forward and baiting, fine. But at the same time, his team needs to know they should be grouping a little bit more then. Insignum just deathballed down mid. Get a tier 1, get a tier 2, get a Gold Fury. Not the Pyromancer, though.
The worst part, though, Hindu, is, sure, I understand Optimus Gang wanted to go for a pincer maneuver, but because they were so split apart from each other, there's no real punishment to be had against Insignum. They just use all of their cooldowns, every single one of their ultimates, it felt like, onto Farrakrick, and it went unanswered because Optimus Gang weren't in position to try and properly collapse. So instead, they end up going in one by one, and we all know how that usually results when you're in the face of 4 to 5 members.
Well, Optimus Gang still being a little bit more on the offensive here because, well, Caspanify still has the Fire Giant and they may be lulled into a full sense of security with that for the time being. Death Panther, though, only level 17. Joshi, only level 19. At 26 minutes in, it shows that Insignum are looking to scrap more than farm. Whereas Optimus Gang, they have been finding the farm and keeping the map pushed up consistently.
And yet the towers are still slightly in favor of Insignum just because they did manage to strip away that T2 in the mid lane. Joshi now going to make up for some of that missed farm and finally tick in at level 20. As we go later and later, though, Insignum's draft will start to encounter more and more difficulties, and a lot of that pressure is going to have to be reshifted towards Death Panther in terms of finding the necessary burst damage to bring down Optimus Gang.
It's a good point. I mean, Death Panther's done a lot of damage in this game so far, but the question is how much of it has, you know, really resulted in kills? Well, you can say 10 because he's got 10 assists. But you're looking for him to get the kill credit eventually, and that's when that build hits its maximum stride. At the moment, it's generally a pretty expensive build he's gone for so far. Book of the Dead, Book of Toth on the expensive side of the mage items. Still 2 slots available, though.
Insignum will probably have to prioritize peeling for Death Panther, however. Still sitting at level 18. He could encounter some difficulties staying alive here. Outwash being so immobile, but having such great base defense.
Clock doesn't get a home onto Zero. Instead, Life of the Party consumed. Fusify is nearly dead, but still survives. Sibby on the backside taking a lot of damage, but 1 health will get him to his Sun Cloud in time once again. The tanks of Optimus Gang are in tatters, and Sibby somehow got away from Lasbra.
He might not be out just yet, though. Minko are going to come through, and that's all it takes. The toss-up into the death for Sibby.
And look at that timing too, Taco. Optimus Gang get aggressive with their front line. Their front line gets whittled down. Insignum win a fight, and now they're on the Fire Giant.
Honestly, this is feeling like Zero running the show right now for Insignum. He has done a great job with so many of these zoning placements.
Got impaled. Good damage too, but the engagement from Johnny towards Joshi is the order of the day. Joshi did have to use his Aegis there as well. Johnny's still trying to hang around as Caspanify still in this fight, but eventually has to airstrike defensively. Now that ultimate's down, it's back to the Fire Giant for Insignum.
But Johnny's still looking to poke out Death Banner, and Joshi just keeping Insignum concerned here. But Fusify, I don't think he's going to get away with 1 HP this time around. Zero going to confirm the kill onto the Croc at last, and Optimus Gang have managed to wiggle their way out so many times at 10% health, but this time.
Oh wait, he stole it away! What got that? How did Optimus Gang get a fire giant? Are you kidding me? Okay, well then. So here's the deal, right? It's pretty simple. So, she presses 2. It gets blocked by the first person in its way. If you stand in its way, it doesn't hit the fire giant.
Firecrack has been silent yet deadly the entire match.
You're right, he really has.
The few moments we have seen Firecrack, in terms of him being relevant to the conversation, is because of him making a big play.
I mean, you've got 3 characters, Zero, Lasbren, and Genetics, that could just stand in the way of a Sol and go, you shall not deal damage to this objective. Here's the play for Kaspanify, though, as they dive in looking for the kill. Kaspanify has no airstrike, no beats, no Aegis, no life, and neither has Sibby. Once again, the Fire Giant, well, not going to do as much as you'd want for Optimus Gang, but it's Insignum on the warpath. Johnny being forced to base, Fusify and Firecrack, the only 3 defenders against Insignum's whole roster.
They're going to need a little bit of help here from Insignum. In fact, they want any hopes of defending this left side Phoenix. In fact, this could just be Insignum looking to make the charge in right onto the Titan.
Oh, they're looking for Firecrack, but it was a very good Supernova to get some peel for himself. Fusify lurks in the waters. Johnny in this fight and out of this fight again with his stealth. Death Panther eats a lot of damage and gets the Book of the Dead proc to keep him topped up. But Josh is in trouble, and Johnny sees it, and Johnny will unleash the dragon.
Genetics also sitting fairly low in the backside, but I'm not sure that Johnny wants to collapse right into the middle of 4 people. He will go just on the outskirts, but now Lasbra is giving chase.
This is a cluster of a game right now as Johnny's looking for a kill. Splits the difference as Firecrack finally brings down Genetics, but Johnny loses his life in trade. Jingwei is back. Sibby is back. Wards are available. Is he TPing right there, Sibby? He is, you know. They're going to maybe flank round and keep going on Insignum.
The problem with an Outwash and a Baron is they don't exactly have the best methods of escape into, and Sibby can have no problem whatsoever catching up, even looking for the slow here on the Deathbender. Will apply the Curse Dong just in time as well. Kaspanify gets 1. Kaspanify gets 2. Kaspanify can't find the 3rd, though, because Lasbra is just too far out ahead.
Well, Lasbra's going to keep running, but this tier 2 tower won't be here for long. Yes, Insignum get a Phoenix on the right-hand side, but right now Optimus could look for one themselves. Bad news bears, though, they didn't bring the minions with them as they barreled down the lane, and those minions further up have just delayed the opportunity for that. Maybe a tier 2 in mid, though.
They can still make up for a little bit of missed gold here just to finish off some of these builds. I think opening up the map as well to have better chase down potential of Insignum will be fairly beneficial here, but Joshi is still looking to play defense.
As is Lasbra. The Desert Fury comes through from Joshi after Lasbra's taunt comes through. Keep an eye on that tier 1, tier 2 tower on the left-hand side, by the way, as it does crumble down to minions, or should we say winions. They could become a bigger factor in this. Tier 2 in the mid, though, trades out.
Initially, it was fine for Insignum to try and play a little bit of defense underneath that T2 tower, but once they expended both the Desert Fury and Lasbra's ultimate, there's just no reason to really stick around. Their life at this point is not worth the exchange of a T2 tower. These
fights, though, I feel like they're hanging around too long sometimes, and they're not protecting each. It's a very awkward game today, like experience-wise. Finally, we started with 32 minutes in, and both the supports, granted the supports still aren't close to level 19, 20 at this stage, which is kind of crazy with how much fighting we're seeing in this game.
It just feels like Optimus Gang have these moments of brilliance where they've clearly got Insignum on the run, and then 2 members will get picked off, or 1 member will get picked off, and then it just feels like a sudden collapse of comms, of everything, and you see Optimus Gang just trying to scatter every which direction, but they just need to try and stay a little bit more composed in those moments and just learn to disengage as a team so they don't end up losing 2, 3, 4 members each time one person gets picked off.
Pyromancer goes to Optimus Gang. Fire Giant about to spawn in 40 seconds time now. Optimus Gang, they got the last 2 of those Fire Giants. Would you believe it? Yes, they did. But they've not managed to do anything with it. It's Insignum with the slight advantage here with having that Phoenix on the right-hand side.
3rd time's the charm, or at least that's what they
the
tend
curse,
to say.
Maybe.
Optimus Gang, though, Fire Giant's starting to feel like a curse for them.
It seems that way, at least with what the decisions have been so far from both these 2 teams. It's a bit of a lull in the action because both teams recognize this Fire Giant is important. And Insignum Happy to sit a little bit further back here at the moment, allow Fusify and Sibi to keep doing what they've been doing, and charge in, looking for Flux, and they're actually going to get Death Panther's beads.
Great pull, and now Johnny still looking for Death Panther on the backside because of the fact those beads were expended.
Beautiful pin from Lasbro.
Farkrick as well did a great job pushing out those creep waves. Fire minions still going to be pouring in just a little bit longer here, but Optimus Gang, they've got to reshift their attention towards this fight.
Yeah, that Phoenix on the right-hand side has respawned now, and like you said, there's going to be some fire minions there, but it's also the easiest one to defend for Optimus Gang not to be out of position around this fire giant. So now the poke wars begin, and both teams have a fair amount of poke on this. Keep an eye on Genetics walls. They've been very impactful so far this game to keep his team topped up and also pin Optimus Gang into an awkward positions.
Arguably a little bit more in favor of Insignum in terms of poke control because you've got Zero and Death Panther, and those two alone are enough to strike a little bit of fear into Optimus Gang. Just look at how reserved Optimus Gang are choosing to be, not even wanting to risk getting hit with a slow.
Phoenix is perfectly fine on the right-hand side now and regened up because Spanify's done a good job clearing those waves, and Johnny still been hanging around these black harpies on the left-hand side. He should be pushing up mid a little bit more, but he doesn't want to show too much faces. There goes Sibi, charging to the back, knocks up 3, slows down 3, tries to keep them busy, avoids the impale and gets into the cloud as Johnny turns up.
But Farkrick will end up finding Joshi. Everybody was so busy peeling for Death Panther, they kind of just forget about their back line. Because Spanify is going to end up falling, though, to its complete trade out of the ADCs. But now Sibi could be in a whole world of trouble.
It's Sustain versus Sustain, and Insignum have a slight lead there. Lurking in the waters, and Fusify avoids the rapid up and gets him away from danger. Optimus Gang on the retreat. Insignum in the healthier standpoint and with more mana too. They should be the ones looking for the Fire Giant now. But will they allow Optimus Gang to steal it again?
Doesn't seem like it. In fact, the Death Panther could be in a little bit of trouble here.
He got knocked up!
He will get knocked up, and now Johnny, though, thanks to the stun out of Genetics, going to buy him a little bit of time here.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Sibi's charging all the way in. Death Panther peels to the left, and the focus is on Lasper as Johnny's giving chase. But that turtle is just too quick for Johnny to catch. Instead, he's going to turn around and look for the back line, but they're just too tanky to bring down. Death Panther slips the net. Optimus Gang, hold on. Don't lose the Fire Giant at all there. It wasn't even taken.
Genetics and Zero trying to get whatever sustain they can going for them because they know if they back, that's very likely going to be a dead Fire Giant by the time they return.
This is just the craziest of games. This is very, very ranked-esque, I would like to say, between these two teams because it's just consistent fights, and whoever throws just one of these fights now could lose the game in an instant.
In fact, I kind of wish we saw a little bit more of Johnny at least trying to pressure mid lane Phoenix. I think that Johnny would be fast enough on this AO, especially with the additional movement speed that he gets off of the Wing Blade, that he can push up mid lane, pressure that out to draw some attention away from the Fire Giant pit, and then look to come in from a flank.
Well, someone's going to go there right now because Minions are actually beating on that middle Phoenix of Insignums. And if someone does show face there, Optimus Gang will commit towards that Fire Giant. The bad news is, though, because Spanify was just pushing out left-hand side at the same time. So that window is going to get avoided for now. Will say, though, Taco, Sibi did a great job in that last fight of just ox-forming through the whole team and drawing his attention to him.
Sometimes that's all it really takes to make everybody sort of break apart from each other. But in Signum, they know very well who they want to play defense for, and it's all Death Panther. Right now, that is the primary focus, is keeping Death Panther alive.
Fusify goes to the back line but couldn't find as much as he wanted to in terms of the flock. Instead, they're going to eat most of the crits. And in the end, Fusify falls down. Sibi did get to his cloud, but Farraklick took more poke than he bargained for, as did Spanify, who has to airstrike away too. But look at the health bars of Insignum. They're all healthy, they're all strong, and they're hunting Johnny right now.
It worked out for Sibi because he could Oxform and knock everybody up in his path. For Fusify to go in just felt reckless.
He plucked, but he missed the pluck. He tail whipped and then had to lurk in the waters, but just couldn't continue on that extravaganza, so ends up getting bursted way heavier than bargained for. Ward Wars are here. Optimus Gang trying to contest Insignum at the Fire Giant again. They stole the last one away because Insignum were not focused on defense. Genetics taking a lot of free poke there, and Johnny's going to get a free kill, and Insignum secure the Fire Giant but lose their support.
Johnny, he was waiting all along, and now he's here. He's going straight onto 0. Life of the party has been expended, but Johnny gonna get the cleanup no matter what. CC immunity will not save you this time around, and the AO still coming through for the flanks.
Lasbra's the only one alive, and 4 members of Optimus Gang are now up as Fusify does respawn. Yeah, the Fire Giant goes to Insignum, but it is not a good thing because every single team that's had the Fire Giant has actually lost the fight after the fact and not been able to abuse it. Now it's just Lasbra for a good 20-odd seconds here. This could be a Phoenix.
Insignum honestly lucking out here, and maybe even not so much so, because Lasbra gonna have to play defense for the next 14 seconds until Genetics respawns. Even then, up against the Sola and then AO, he's gonna just have to let this right-hand Phoenix go.
He's got relics, and he's got his ultimate and the Fire Giant too, so he may be able to hold at the Titan room. In he goes with the blink, knocks up 2, pulls in Johnny, but he doesn't get hold of Fire Quick. Genetics respawn, gonna get more tankier and take more damage too, but still the Titan is falling, and Optimus Gang are gonna take the game.
And just like that, the collapse could not have been more immediate there. Insignum just spent too much time hesitating on that Fire Giant. They couldn't decide between finishing off the objective or taking up the team fight. And in the end, because of how split that shot calling was, Optimus Gang able to profit off of all of it.
Did either of those teams look good there, or was that just 2 teams scrapping to show that they could both scrap?
It did feel like there were some
Good
moments
points. Yeah, sure.
from both sides, but I do feel as though things kind of did get a little bit trailed off there towards the end.
It was real out there. Congratulations, though, to Optimus Gang, who do the double over Insignum, and coming out of the summer split, I would not have expected that. That's really surprising to me. Who do you guys at home, though, think deserves MVP on Optimus Gang? Where's your money on for that one? I'm on Sibby, I think. Funny enough,
Sibby might have
early
actually
game bad,
been.
late game, I think he helped win it.
It was just because of the fact that Sibby had so much interrupt factor. That's the annoying part about trying to deal with the Sun Wukong up in that mid to late game. It just really felt like Insignum were not certain as to whether they should try and kill Sibby or just focus out on those objectives. He bought enough time for Johnny to wrap around the backside as well. Johnny finding that execute onto Genetics. Poor Genetics. He is the true victim of all of this.
I think he had a great game as well.
He was forced to tank that Fire Giant, and his team just let him absorb all of that damage without any real response.
I will say, I do think Genetics had a very good game in the Terror too. Both teams had players that stood out, but overall, it wasn't to be for Insignum. Optimus Gang then stretch to 6-0, which means they're still undefeated. Are you surprised by this?
A little bit. I think for the most part, I was kind of expecting Insignum to retaliate a bit better, considering how this started off for them in the fall split. I thought that their draft was atrocious. The very first time they played against Optimus Gang, and they seemed to have remedied some of those problems the first time that they played, but then they kind of just fell back into some old habits, it felt like. And it was a little bit sidetracked, I think. I think that's the main issue, is that Insignum kind of got baited and sidetracked by all those aggressive moments out of Optimus Gang.
Yeah, and Optimus Gang, I mean, they were willing to take Fire Giant fights that were very awkward for themselves too, which came up fortuitous for them most of the time as well. Still strange to look back at that game and go, well, if you think about it, Insignum were in the lead in gold for a majority of that game at the start, as well as the kills, but not enough to find the victory. Well, that's it for me and Taco for this one. We'll be back a little bit later on. Still 3 more SML sets to bring you. That'll be happening after the break.
Welcome back to the SMITE Minor League, Finch and Aggro here. And boy, did we just have a great game a moment ago, right? Optimus Gang able to find that win, kind of securing their spot, it feels like, at least for now, up there near the top. Yeah.
I can't imagine a world now where Optimus Gang aren't in the top 3 going into the final week.
Right.
I mean, this should solidify them as top 3 in Signum. You imagine they'll still say top 3, but there is a world now where they end up falling out of it.
And if you're Milky Way in particular, who's cruising around in that 3rd place spot right beneath them, right? That's what you want to see. Let the top stay up there. I'm aiming for that number 2. There's a chance for him to come in and take it, but you got to beat teams like the Poppies if you want to make it happen. That's exactly what they're going into now.
That's definitely true. You basically have to win out now if you want to take 2nd place from Insignum. That would include beating Insignum. You really can
not
only
easy to do.
afford to drop a game to Optimus Gang, and even then that would put you at, what, 4 losses? So you would need Insignum to still lose another game on top of that.
Right.
Seems unlikely. So the best way to put yourself in top 3 is to just win your games throughout the rest of the year.
Right.
Understand that, yes, you may drop to Optimus Gang, yes, you may drop to Insignum, but if you can win against one of those and not lose anything else, you'll be fine.
Well, right into the picks and bans. Poppy's banning away this Baron, and I think for good reason. We saw Baron be still pretty strong for him in that last game, too. Baron continually is a high-impact control mage, keeping the teams healed up. His damage is nothing to shake a stick at either if he can make it a little bit later with a lot of items online.
No, I mean, I wish he did a little bit more damage because then I could play him in the mid lane. I'm not salty about it or anything. But
I mean, sounds like you are. But
well, I'm not because I just said I wasn't.
It's your perpetual state of being. So we've all accepted.
That's a good point. I think that Baron is still a top pick, top ban worthy. Right. Freya, on the other hand, got no picks or no bans, I believe, in the last set. So interesting that she gets first picked here from Poppies, but certainly a very good one. I am curious about this Agni ban from Milky Way.
You think Freya more valuable than Agni right now? Probably.
Overall, probably. But Warchi has played basically only Agni as of late. So this is kind of the show us what else you have in the God pool. Now, Warchi was an ADC main before he moved to mid. Freya was more an ADC. Now she's more of a mid. So I anticipate this will go to Warchi and that he should feel at least a little bit more comfortable with it.
Well, Rom and Osiris come through. No big surprise seeing the Osiris. He's kind of risen in value lately, especially in that solo lane. He's a real monster there. But a little curious this Rom comes in this early. I mean, he's certainly a strong hunter, but I mean, there's a lot of good ones left on her. Jing Wei, Rom as well. I mean, maybe didn't have to grab it right there.
No, I agree with you. I've been pretty underwhelmed by the amount of Rom picks lately. We've seen it a lot in minor league and pro league level.
Yeah.
He does okay.
He does okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It doesn't really seem to be a world beater to me. It's really that wave 1 pressure, not just level 1, but your first wave pressure is so good with Rom because he has access to all 5 astral arrows that it makes your laning phase a lot easier from the get-go, and I think that's why a lot of teams prioritize him.
They've got the soul there too, so that's a lot of focus on the auto attacks coming out from Milky Way. We'll see what it is that Poppies want to try and punish. But I don't know. They've got 3 picks right there that you absolutely don't want to get going. Between the Freya, on her, and that Erlong Shen, those can all be nightmares in their own right. So Milky Way certainly got some work to do.
Fafnir ban here from Poppies is the way to go.
Do that.
You see these many auto attackers, you ban Fafnir, or you just ban Robin. I think a Fafnir ban would have been a little bit better. Look, Robin's really good, but there's still a lot of good junglers on the table now for Milky Way. And what do you know? They go straight to Fafnir.
As they should have.
Now the Poppies don't have any more objectives on the map.
We
haven't loaded in yet, but they're gone.
Not against a Soul Rom. Even if it was just Soul, even if you ban Fafnir, really, there's probably going to still be plenty of that happening. But you're right, for sure not now with that AoE chorus. But I like this from Poppies right now. They've already got a ton of early aggression, I feel like, between this Honor and Erlong. And now you add that Geb to that. That means you have a great sort of safety valve, especially when you start moving to the mid-late game. And with someone like the Aokwang who's going to be diving, it all just makes sense.
It does. I would have preferred to see that Erlong jungle and pick Bologna. It would have been great against the auto attackers.
With the Erlong here already,
Your front line would have been so strong with Erlong, Bologna, Geb. Yeah. You've got plenty of damage already between Freya on her that I'm not that worried about your damage. And if I am worried about Poppy's damage in this draft, it's AoE. It's not single target. Their single target damage is phenomenal already. Without the Aokwang, they're lacking AoE damage. And if you really wanted to pick a jungler that could kind of remedy that, Aokwang just isn't the one to do it.
I'm wondering if maybe this is a flex in response to this sort of this Osiris, right? Where they're like, maybe they want to try and throw Erlong over there and see about his matchup.
Watch out! Oh!
Beads anyway, just instinctively, but it's enough. He gets away. Milky Way unable to lock down the Freya, who was unsuspected.
I wonder if Milky Way has been watching the beginning of Poppy's games and have noticed that that's where Warchi sits and thought, I think we could just go from his left and he would never see us. I wonder if he heard the footsteps or something like that. I don't know, but Warchi's spidey senses were tingling and it got him out of a little bit of danger. Though losing beads this early on doesn't kill you, because there isn't great early CC for Milky Way. Marcus can now prioritize getting Wind Siphon. A lot of times Susano doesn't get Wind Siphon at level 2 or level 3. He'll wait until level 4. But now maybe Marcus will pick it up, maybe even level 2 to try and get an early kill on Warchi.
That was very interesting. The initial hammer was off the mark, and even so, it looked like Warchi was very ready for the beads. He ends up using them almost the second he would have needed to anyway after he moved forward, but not quite able to get the lockdown. But I like the idea from Shoxy Foxy, who again is absurdly fun to say. Couldn't find him, but he is able to find it on the Chekio, but Boss is already half HP.
Good focus from Jaco Marino on the Boss, and Cheki's trying to step up and put some damage on. Now both supports have Shell, and both seem to be upgraded right away, so those absorb stacks certainly going to come into play if someone gets low enough. In the early game, the auto attacks are doing the majority of the finishing blows for these Hunter 1v1s or even up against the supports, so Shell is really just a huge amount of HP because it's 2 auto attacks that get absorbed if you upgrade it, and then you have to cut through the actual Shell health itself, and that's pretty much impossible.
Works out in favor, though, at least of the Poppies, even though they don't have to use the Relic. Cheki was able to find some very nice autos there and pressure Milky Way back towards their own purple buff. Now Poppy's able to get the clear easily and grab their own buffs, as Julio is looking okay in the matchup here up against the Osiris so far. They're both still on round shield. That's the start for a lot of these auto-attacked warriors now. They start that round shield back immediately, teleport back in with Berserkers.
That is the plan, and you imagine that both of these warriors will be a lot more willing to take the fights once they have the Gladiator Shield, or Berserker Shield, excuse me, and Sixer looks like he'll be first to notch it, as Julio's willing to take this damage from the archers because he knows he's trying to back right after this wave, but Sixer's going to get the advantage here because he's able to back first, teleport back in first, and this wave should basically be cleared by the time Julio gets back to lane.
That means he'll probably have to take some extra damage when he comes back in anyway, but looks like he is indeed going to be finished off that Berserker Shield and teleporting back in, no problem. Checking back in with Warchi in the middle lane, though. Beads back available. Looks like Marcus wasn't able to quite capitalize on it. It wasn't a huge window. I'm sure Warchi was playing small, so it's not as if a misplay happened there from him, but those early beads end up being not that big of an impact, so that early start now has truly been kind of washed away.
No harm, no foul for the Poppies mid laner. Check out Marcus's start. Goes with the Enchanted Buckler. Still don't know what a buckler is.
It's a small shield. We found that out.
We did?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you and I had the same discussion.
I know we did, and that's why I referenced it.
And they came in and they said, it's a small shield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's got one, and it's going to work towards either Anchile or that Runic shield. And I feel like Anchile is probably a little bit better in this spot here for Marcus. It's cheaper. It gives you some CDR. The health that Runic shield gives you isn't as relevant in the jungle as it is in something like solo lane. And it gives them the opportunity to play aggressive up against Worst Turtle.
Worst Turtle playing up aggressive up against him, trying to strip away the blue buff from Sixer, but looks like he was not successful in that attempt. Sixer is able to grab it and walk back. Now Worst Turtle on the retreat path, using the best outclaw skin you can ask for, as Marcus has to retreat. Hopefully we'll get to see some nice executes.
We need a name for the boat that he turns into.
Can we call it the Quanger?
SS Quanger? I don't like that.
I mean, I didn't ask if you liked it.
Well, you kind of did. You said, can we call it that?
Yeah.
I suppose we could, but I don't want to.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, that's fine. You know, we won't. I've been told now by production that we should not call it that. So
I agree.
That's. I mean, I trust Matt more than you.
I do as well. That is a smart call by you. I'll put some brain
we'll
power on it.
A brain power. I hope you don't mean like Hindu and F-Dot. I hope that's not what you were meant.
No, I meant I'm going to dedicate some of my brain resources right now.
Oh, okay.
As this cast is going on, to think about.
No problem. You know, take a break here. I'll talk for a little bit.
No, I can still talk. What? I'm trying to let you know I'm still here for you, Finch.
I appreciate you being there for me.
Yeah, no problem.
Warchi, as you mentioned, is going to be going up against Marcus with that buckler once he gets it finished off. He went with the Book of Thoth, which is pretty standard. We see from our Freyas nowadays, trying to get that bigger mana pool. And it looks like there hasn't been any trouble really at all in the middle lane. I'm a little bit surprised. This boss has to give up the beads over here in the duo lane up against the pressure from Czechia.
Love that pillar impale. Always the highlight plays for on her players. And now Chekio has serious kill potential. Not like the earlier beads from Warchi, where it didn't really matter that really does open up the door now for Boss to get soloed, because now just one impale, you wait on the Desert Fury because you know Boss will ultimate as soon as he gets the opportunity. Just auto him down, he'll use the ult, and then you get to Desert Fury as soon as he lands.
That really could have been a problem there for Warchi, but find the nice banish onto Marcus means that he won't have to worry about using his beads. Worst Turtle looking aggressive into the enemy jungle, but he's got to be careful. Sixer and Marcus both here. He does have some wards down, so he'll know that the rotations are coming, but he just wants to try and get in for the steal and get back out. Can't find that. In fact, now he's getting blown up. Does still have the dash. Lord of the Afterlife for the chase. Slow will land as well, but Worst Turtle is going to look for the turnaround. Julio finds Marcus. First blood for Poppies, and Worst Turtle makes it out.
Julio just is able to get in there, and Marcus had used every single defensive cooldown in order to try and get Worst Turtle down, and that was I was not ready for that sort of aggressive level of play from Worst Turtle, and the 2v1 trying to steal it away seemed a little bit unwise to me, but clearly Worst Turtle is on his game because he's able to make that happen and still get away. Julio, great identification that Marcus was vulnerable. No need to try and peel. Worst Turtle can handle himself. Let's just go for the first play.
Even though they haven't been able to actually find that blue buff, they've been looking for that invade a couple times now, Worst Turtle and Julio in particular, but they've been able to find some pressure on the back end of it, even without the buff itself. So great play, in particular there from Julio, to be able to make the rotation. Still, though, looks like Sixer's relatively even with them, so not a huge deal just yet. But if they're going to keep that up, Milky Way might need a few more hands over on that side.
Once Julio starts getting a lead, it's going to be difficult to handle. Now, we've seen a lot more Erlong jungle than Erlong solo as of late, but Erlong out of the solo lane brings the same sort of disruptive, big damage elements all at the same time. He's just a little bit tankier. He's just not in as many fights, and that's why Erlong jungle's been a little bit more popular, because it gets him into more fights and allows him to be more disruptive more often. But he could still bring an insane amount of CC, but also have that tankiness about him that sometimes Erlong jungle can lack.
Julio and Sixer's kind of farming up at this point. Aside from the blue buff invade, which has been a little bit slow, we've seen Chekio look for some impales, but no real kill potential there. Marcus hasn't been able to find very many gank attempts of his own. It's mostly been defensive from the Susano. Maybe not too big of a surprise. Susano can be strong early, but often can wait. But look at this, man. Worst Turtle and Julio one more time at the speed buff, this time just outright beating him.
This blue buff has been a real point of contention so far. Basically every time, Marcus going to use that jet stream to give himself a different angle to the fight. Normally you'd think Osiris is not one to get his blue buff invaded.
Right, I wouldn't even have tried, right?
Right, it's just like, well, it's an Osiris, we're not going to invade this. But Julio has had just as much pressure as Sixer has, and Sixer's been such a key component of Milky Way's recent success that this is definitely a dedicated effort from the Poppies to try and shut him down, and it's a good idea. We'll see if it works. It looks like it might, because Julio gets the solo kill up against Sixer, no ultimate used. Lord of the Afterlife was available, but just didn't use it.
Able to taunt him back in and find the nice kill. Boss, I thought, might be being sent to go join his solo laner, but manages to avoid the pressure from Chekio. And this is one more thing that was a bit surprising to me about this ROM pick. I mean, yes, that very first wave you hit, you got some good clear potential on it, but it does kind of open the door for this aggressive On Her to come in and already know the matchup probably just going to favor him because On Her is so strong early.
This ROM has just really struggled against that strength from Chekio in the early game. And normally you think of Geb in the lane, it's not going to bring you that push power. And really, On Her is not a good push hunter either. He's really a good fighting hunter. He doesn't clear the wave particularly well in the early game. And even now, he's using Impale to clear the wave, which means that that's his main fight damage option. But Shifting Sands is so good. Even when Impale is down, it's slowing down the opposition. You're just out-trading them because you do more damage when you hit them, and you're more likely to hit them because they're very slow in the lane. Whereas Boss just doesn't have a lot to fight you with once he clears the wave. It doesn't get any easier from here. This is supposed to be the easier part of fighting On Her when he's struggling to clear the wave. But when he gets to this point, he's really tough to stop.
Lord of the Afterlife is expended this time from Sixer to make sure he doesn't fall prey to Julio's aggression. Worst Turtle ends up losing quite a bit of HP too, but look at Sixer undeterred, forcing out Julio. But that means now Worst Turtle can blink in, looking for the execute, finds it, there's the barge! The SS Quanger comes out, and Worst Turtle finds one more kill.
No, I was just thinking about what it was going to be. It should definitely be some sort of... he's the king of the eastern seas,
Yes.
right? So it's got to be like Eastern Wind or something.
Oh, that's
like
a
that.
nice name.
Like something like that. Or here's something that I thought that was really funny in my brain, and it's actually why I was pretty slow on your on her point, because I was thinking about this, dedicating my brain power, like I said. What if we just name the ship like a human name?
Like the SS Anne?
No, like no SS. Just be
Oh.
like, this is
Just
hey,
Carl.
there's Ao Kwong's boat, Dave. I think that's very funny.
Yeah, I can tell by looking at you. I heard an audible groan in my ear when I said the SS Klinger.
As you should have.
That's the reaction I was looking for. Is Julio will indeed be able to solo down the Pyromancer. I'm gonna stick
Berserker
with
shield, by the way.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? I'm gonna stick with SS Kwanger until you come up with an actual good name.
First of all, Dave is a good ship's name.
It's not.
Secondly,
It needs to be a nautical pun or something, right?
yeah, I guess so. The Eastern Dream, the Eastern Winds.
What
Something-
about Celine? That didn't work. Like Celine, and just say C in there.
Awful.
Bodie McBoatface.
Chat, we just got your suggestion in our ear that you suggested Bodie McBoatface, and I gotta tell you, I'm a fan.
There's no way that the SS Kwanger is not better than that name as Marcus pulls in Chekio. Desert Fury and Cataclysm will be the response, but Typhoon might be too strong. He avoids the snipes from Boss. Somehow, Chekio able to weasel his way out of there and able to make it out alive.
Oh, and Worst Turtle is he's ready to get Bodie McBoatface out into the water. It was away for the winter, and now he's ready to bring it back out again. Shoxy Foxy.
Oh, this is
going to
be
the
transformed.
likely contended here, but that transformation will prevent him from getting executed, and it turns out the water is still just too cold for Bodie McBoatface.
And a little bit too cold for Remag Doku as he falls to Julio in the middle lane. Big rotations out of the Erlong Shin, not only impacting the solo side, but the mid lane too. And now where's Turtle? Wants Boss, not going to bring out the boat this time, but will find the deletion. Boss falls.
Julio is dominating the right side of the map. Worst Turtle now is transitioning it over to the
Is Ao
left.
Kwong just good?
Ao Kwong is just good. Yeah, I would wager a guess and say that for sure. Erlong Shen is also good.
Well, Erlong Shun, I don't need to be convinced on or persuaded, but I kind of have thought about Kwong as like this sort of Johnny special, maybe not that high value of a pick, but one he's just that strong on. But I mean, the more we see it, the more I'm starting to think it is very, especially in this mid-game portion, it's just strong.
I have always been a fan of Ao Kwong. I think that if you play it right and put yourself in the right positions, it's very difficult to stop. Specifically, camping solo lane is just like what the character does better than almost any other character in the entire game. And as soon as you load in against an Ao Kwong and you're playing solo lane, you really need to understand that you are going to be under pressure all game long. And it wasn't Sixer getting ganked so much as his blue buff was under pressure all game long, but it enables Julio to get a lead and is an easy execute target.
But you're right, it wasn't so much that he had to worry about getting ganked. You're right. They went to go defend the blue buff, and oftentimes in the 2v2, they would end up falling just off Julio being a little bit better in the trade on the back end. They committed so much on a Worst Turtle, who can often make it back out. But I think we should ask chat what the name of the boat should be. That's what I think, Ryan. That's what I think we should do. I'm going to suggest, obviously, the SS Kwanger, and you're going to suggest something dumb like Dave. Is Boss very much in trouble here up against Chekio in the wave, able to avoid it, jumps up, but can't even make it to the air. Chekio with the 1v1 kill over Boss.
As soon as Boss got in the minions, I think ulting is just the right call, because if you really just need one auto attack to miss to get up into the air, and then you've got your pick of shots on the Chekio, who doesn't have Aegis at the time. He just now back to base and picked that up. Boss instead tries to throw an extra auto attack out, ends up getting him killed. Good idea, and the fact that Boss is able to even consider taking that fight is important.
That's a good point.
It's pretty good for Boss to be able to get there. His auto attacks were strong.
I wonder if the
It doesn't
boot
hurt him
difference
that
made that?
Talaria boots is the big deal there. I mean, if Chekio just has Warrior Tab Eye or Ninja Tab Eye, then he's good in that spot and never even gets close. Boss wasn't stacked on his Devo gloves, as was just pointed out by current observer Doug LeBlanc. My favorite part is that Doug is always the observer, but it says current observer.
Yeah. If I'm Doug, I'm a little bit worried. Are they trying to get someone else in there instead of Doug?
They'd be a fool to try.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you can touch the Doug. Not at this stage. As Supernova comes through and puts Draco in a world of hurt. Shoxy is still pushing forward, but he has very little support. Worst Turtle does get a few shots at him, but it's Boss who's under duress. Desert Fury and Chekio is way too much damage. Execute comes out as Worst Turtle takes down Redag Doku. The Poppies are on a roll against Milky Way.
8-0, and it feels like this is going to be a Milky Way victory just based on the standings, but I don't know. It's it looks like the Poppies have looked really good today, and chat, you aren't looking so good today. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, you're looking a little bit like Marcus, who just took a spill there, because it turns out that it's the SS Quanger that is selected by chat. I knew you had my back out there over Bodie McBoatface. How can I'm not even surprised, you know? Not even surprised.
Bodie McBoatface is a good name for a boat. Number one. But it is a little bit unwieldy. I'll concede that.
And the boat isn't?
Great point. It should have been Bodie McBoatface. Come on.
Nah, we already named it.
I didn't get enough time to come up
To
with
give your
something.
suggestion?
Yeah, my brain is still working on it.
I mean, that's part of the reason why I won. I came up with a winning name right away.
Yeah, real creative there.
What was uncreative about it?
His name is Ao Kwong.
Yeah.
All you did was put ER on the end.
And SS at the beginning.
Yeah, because it's a boat, and that's what happens. Like, it's not creative, Finch. You may have won, but don't come in here looking like you're some sort of poet. All right? You're okay.
Man,
here's story time.
Hate looks really bad on you, doesn't it?
It really. I mean, I have a lot of practice, so it really shouldn't look this bad. When I was a young lad.
Sure. Your father took you to the city.
Yeah, he did. But separate from that, I got a hermit crab. I was really, really excited about it. I'll tell us in a minute. Doku's in a lot of trouble, but Worst Turtle's looking for Marcus instead. Typhoon there, Desert's Fury there.
Oh, too early.
Impale out of the Wild Storm, and that'll get Marcus out of there. He cuts a check to Chekio to thank him for saving his life. So I got a hermit crab, and my older sister. I've been a fan of cringe humor my entire life.
Sure.
Okay, puns, horrible jokes, knock jokes. I was huge on as a kid. Okay, so we get this hermit crab. And my sister tells the story now, thinking, you know, I'm like, I have the perfect name for this hermit crab. I'm 5 years old. She goes, please, God, do not let him name this hermit crab Hermie. And I'm like, Dad, I have the perfect name. You're going to love it. He's like, oh, yeah, Ryan, what is it? Hermie is exactly how I said it. And my sister, like, contemplated jumping out of the car. You just named your hermit crab Hermie.
No, I didn't.
You really did.
Because
there's no creativity to it.
It's not no creativity.
5-year-old me could have come up with SS Quanger.
Not as quickly as I did.
I doubt it.
Not as eloquently or confidently.
I felt pretty confident about Hermie being a great hermit crab.
No, you felt confident about the name being bad and making your sister sad.
Here's the best part of the story, though. Next year, we go back to the beach. I get another hermit crab, because Lord knows Hermie didn't make it a week.
Right.
So this year, I know my sister doesn't want me to name it something like Hermie. So I think I'm real clever, right?
Hermie too.
No. I think I'm real clever. I go, okay, this year I have the best name for my hermit crab. My aunt asks me what it is, and I say, my hermit's crab name is Sacagawea.
Why is that funny?
Because I thought it was a cool word.
Oh.
And the Sacagawea golden dollars had just come out, and I was like, I know. I'll name my hermit crab this, and my sister will never see it
All
coming.
you're doing is confirming that it was right that I should pick the name, and I feel correct here. But enough about you and your sad childhood that no one's interested in. Poppies are on a tear, Ryan. They got the Fire Giant, taking down a Tier 2 tower. Chekio, or rather Boss, doesn't even get the Tier 1. In fact, they're going to come right back over to this Phoenix and try and take that one down.
Right side Phoenix is the siege, but Worst Turtle going to split it up towards the mid lane. Marcus taking a 1v1 that he might not win. Does do good damage to Worst Turtle, but right side Phoenix is already low.
It is low. Supernova coming out for Reman Doku as well to try and buy them some time, but it will not buy enough. Poppies grab the right side Phoenix. In fact, Reman Doku is in some trouble. He's been banished, and Chekio is going to remove him. Now with the 5v4 in their favor, they do not have Worst Turtle here, but they still are very far ahead.
Nice beads from Warchi as Sixer thought about going in and tried to, but was not successful. Worst Turtle full health again, by the way. Shouts to Bancrofts and Typhons. Shoxy Foxy, not full health, by the way. All aboard, Bodie McBoatface.
Well, that's not his real name, but Worst Turtle is actually really here to play. Gets the double kill by removing Marcus. Surrender vote is started, and I think they might be right, Ryan. Can the Poppies just end?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's 7 seconds on Doku, but outside of that, how much damage is he really going to do? No ultimate for him, a full minion wave coming in.
Yeah, that's it.
20 minutes. The Poppies
Blanking out
Stop.
Milky Way.
Yeah, they went. They didn't even drop a kill.
13-0, and if we sound a little bit surprised, I think it's because we are
Yeah.
a little bit here, right? I mean, Milky Way has been looking great. They had that nice 2-win week last week when they really came into it looking like they'd been struggling, looking like a team that maybe just had a rough schedule, but the Poppies are here to set the record straight. I've been saying that this is how they're capable of playing, and here they're putting it on display.
They really did do a great job here today, and it's specifically Julio and Worst Turtle, those
Yes.
two on the right side of the map, just dominated. The duo lane for Milky Way wasn't able to keep up with Chekio and
Yes.
with Draco, so that side wasn't winning. Warchi was doing well in the mid lane. Just every lane won for the Poppies, and they pushed all the right buttons to keep the lead in their favor.
That's right. Who was your MVP at home, though? I think you kind of might have to give it over to Julio, even though I think Chekio just outright won his lane very well over there. I think that the one who had the impact that affected the map the most probably would be Julio.
I would agree with you. His rotation in underneath the tier 1 tower on the mid lane to kill
That's
Doku
right, yeah.
sets Warchi further ahead. It was Worst Turtle there helping him quite a bit, but it was Julio who got first blood, and it was just the right side of the map.
And they really did get too far out of control, at least for Milky Way to be able to find an answer. So now they have to go back to the drawing board a little bit.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about it. The door's kind of open. I mean, Insignum now pretty clearly pushed down a little bit by Optimus Gang, who are now 6-0. Maybe you can't reach that first spot, but second spot's a little more open. Milky Way, one of the teams that had a chance, now fallen.
The team that's probably happiest about this is Exordium, because they're
Yes.
sitting at 2 and 3 and feel like, okay, now we're in a really good spot, and they've got a big game coming up right now.
Also, something off screen just levitated because Exordium is a spell, apparently.
Well, only when Hindu Man says it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe he's the one that's mad.
How many American accents did you hear at Hogwarts?
None. They were in England.
I know.
That doesn't mean that magic.
You're
has to be from
reinforcing my
England.
point.
That's not what that means. There,
Okay, did you
Newt-
see-
What's his name from the new? What's his name? Scalamander or something? I don't
Yeah,
know.
Nate.
Nate. I thought it was Newt.
It is Newt. I just said Nate.
Feels good. Exordium up against.
But
Sacred
he's in
Speedboat.
America, and still he has an English
Wait, that's
accent.
not true, is it? Oh
Yes.
no, that
He
is
has an
to your
English
point.
accent.
Dang it. Okay, well, forget that. I'm still right.
I'm
Exordium
excited about that next one.
up against Sacred Speed Buff here in this next game. Pele getting banned out. That's another interesting one. I don't think we saw Pele Victor ban in the
No, I don't
last
think
two
we
sets.
did.
have we?
Yeah, that's a good
very
point.
interesting. Yeah.
I don't think we did, and I think she's certainly good enough to warrant
Yeah.
a ban or
10th pick Pele sounds good to me.
or an early pick, but the European minor league is definitely forming their own meta. It's Alkwong, obviously. It's Seoul. Those
Right.
are two picks that we're seeing so much of, and it's high priority selections for them as well. Outside of what the Pro League and the Console League are really doing, those two picks here in Europe, and even the North American side of the minor league, we're seeing a lot more of those two in particular.
Everything else, though, looking fairly standard. You know, you definitely want to get Baron, Frey, and Chernobog out of there. Sobek being first picked with the likes of Serket still on the board, though, might be a little bit curious. But on her, that's another one that I feel like is being really heavily prioritized just across the board lately. They're going to use that up against this Sobek.
It's good. It has good enough early game. Like I said, he doesn't clear the wave particularly well, levels 1 through 7, but after that, he's totally fine. His late game team fight is totally fine. Sacred Sand or Shifting Sands is a great ability in team fights. 75-second cooldown on Desert's Fury is A-okay. You can do a lot with this on her pick.
Giannis is going to come in with him, so another guy we've seen a little bit less of, I would say, lately.
And Artemis.
But certainly could be plenty potent if they're able to make use of that rotational ability that he's able to bring out through space and time. So we'll certainly see there how that one works as Artemis and Robin end up getting paired up together. So a nice early core developed there by Exordium. Artemis, who can be strong late, Robin, who's very strong early, and Sobek, who's about as good as it gets in a fight.
Exactly. So the pretty decent, well-rounded first 3 picks here for
Yes.
Exordium, but they don't have a clear direction for their draft. Sacred Speed Buff, Giannis brings a lot to a team composition, but does lack in his team fight capability.
I would say
so. They select Terra, which is the best team fighting Guardian for my money, just because Earth and Fury is such a nuts ult that you kind of make up for that loss. Plus, it punishes Artemis really, really well. She can't get away if you root her. She can't get away when you stun her. You set up on her very well in that duo lane. Sacred Speed Buff are looking to really fight it out in the mid game in that duo.
Serket gets banned away, as wasn't prioritized by either one of these teams here so far, and Osiris is going to be the pickup. Feels like our solo laner, so Sacred Speed Buff waiting a bit on their jungler. You know, one more pick we haven't seen much of, I feel like in the minor league, but we see it a lot elsewhere, is the Morrigan, right? Hasn't that pick been very heavily prioritized in the SPL, but not so much here?
I mean, it's hard. It's a hard god.
It is. It's tough to
sometimes
make.
It's really that simple, and if you aren't doing a lot as the Morrigan, you're really not doing a lot. You don't you don't bring that much outside of
her build path is rather risky right now.
Exactly. Yeah. So it makes sense. If you aren't completely confident in your Morrigan pickup, you probably shouldn't be picking it.
Wise of them to go with some other options they can make work, like the Habwa, someone nice and safe, right? That you don't have anything to worry about. So that's what's going to come in for a Sacred Speed buff to go up against the Fafnir and the Soul, which, by the way, is a great combo since they already have the Artemis. That's pretty scary.
Yep, I like Exordium's draft. They are very objective focused. They've got Sobek to set up. They've got good enough AoE damage with this composition. It's not great, but the single target selection can be really good, especially against Sacred Speed buff's draft, which is very squishy at points. Giannis and Habwa, two very squishy mages. So you could, if you get a Fafnir Hammer or Sobek Pluck onto one of those two, they really should die very quickly.
The only thing is, you gotta watch out for a big SB here. Osiris is one that usually feels pretty good up against hunters. You know, he does get some of the extra protections. He's able to slow you, get up in close, and he likes to have those kinds of battles, reduce your healing as well with that Lord of the Afterlife. Maybe there's a chance Big SB could slow it down, but I mean, if Popular is getting that coerce onto both of them, Artemis is swinging late game, so is Soul, and they're two different types of auto attack damage. It's going to be hard for anyone to deal with if they get comfortable.
There's plenty to deal with for sure, but if this game is able to go as quickly as the last one, then it feels like Exordium is going to be the team to do it, right? With this Fafnir and the double auto attackers, if they get even a slight lead and start pushing in, I mean, it'll be difficult to stop them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Habwa and Onher feel equally likely to me, but you're right. Yeah, if they're able to start burning down these structures, that could be a big problem for Sacred Speed buffs. So they got to try and keep that in line as Popular takes a little bit of extra poke here in lane. It has kind of been a minute since we've seen this Artemis over here, huh?
It has been. I mean, ML played it this week, I believe, in the SPL for Energy. But outside of that, it does feel like it's been a decent amount of time. The change to her passive's still very, very good, but I think you need to draft around it a little bit better. You need to make sure that everyone on your team has some sort of CC so you can just coincidentally be doing more damage without really having to dedicate yourself to finding the right spots to use your CC. She also, with the rise of Onher, I think Onher has a great lane matchup up against Artemis, so with Onher being more popular, I expected to see a little bit less Artemis, and for that reason I'm surprised that Exordium actually picked the Artemis right after Onher, because it feels to me like streak up, I mean, you jump in on top of her, you slow her, and then when she ultimates to give herself CC immunity for the slow, you just ult. And you don't get, you'll take the damage, but you're really not worried about the damage, you're worried about the long stun and root after that. You can walk out of those very easily with Desert Spirit.
Should be a nice matchup for Streak Up. We'll see if he can make the most out of it. But it is kind of tough. As much as I like the single target objective focus from Exordium, and I think they have a good balance, or their team fight's certainly potent, the Terra just is such a strong element in their favor that it's hard to stop them. But I don't know. As I was talking about it, I changed my mind. I just like Exordium's team fight more. I want to have the Artemis board, and I want to have a Sobek in my fight and the Supernova ultimate. You know, I don't know. I just really like it from Exordium. I changed my mind halfway through.
It does just feel like Sacred Speed buff has the potential to just one-shot a Squishy, though. That's the whole idea for their team fight is Giannis ultimate into Giannis 2, or a quality knock-up ultimate, kill a Squishy before they ever hit the ground. Without that, I agree with you. Exordium's team fight feels much better to me, but Sacred Speed buff have that potential.
Angry Day in a little bit of trouble on the left hand, on the mid lane side, excuse me, as Angry Day is able to just sustain right up. So Soul, never mind, is going to be A-okay. Forces Flippo back and should be all right. Not a ton of kill potential there from the Giannis, so he should be okay.
Flippo's not going for the Chronos Pendant start or anything like that, just going straight into Book of Thoth. Could start his boots right after backing, depends on how much gold he has in hand, but either option's really okay. I've said it a decent amount as of late with Giannis. I think a reason why we haven't seen him as much is because Chronos Pendant did get nerfed, slightly, but did get nerfed, and Book of Thoth is kind of the agreed upon best build path for a lot of mid laners. And Giannis, just, lots of mid laners do burst damage. Giannis is not exclusive to that, and it feels like you're just giving up a lot of utility by not picking up something like the Chronos Pendant and going for the Book of Thoth in this sort of matchup.
Flippo should be able to make good use of it. I agree with you. It is a bit surprising we haven't seen less of him. I think the Chronos Pendant certainly could be hurting him in that change. But I don't know. I feel like we're also kind of just liking to have more burst damage from our mid laners a little bit more nowadays. And Giannis just doesn't really provide that consistently. He certainly can with the Unstable Vortex, or the through space and time, but it just feels like that might not be the optimal way to use him. You want him for the portals and the rotations and weaving through the fights. So as long as that's what Sacred Speed Buff can make good use of, then they should be fine.
Well, it's part of the reason why I do kind of like this Hebo pick alongside it, though, because, like you said, you're not always getting that magical burst damage out of Giannis when he's your mid laner, but you always are whenever Haba's in your jungle. So I think that it does make some sense for these two to go together, but it also incentivizes you. SB, I'm pretty sure he's just dead.
Yeah, I like his confidence there. Well, he shouldn't have had to use it. He just backed in the middle of the lane.
Yeah,
He's like,
exactly.
I bet you won't pluck me, and then he did.
With Lord of the Afterlife down, Kha'Zix was going to kill him without use of Shell, and without teleport, it's that much longer for the big SB to get back to lane. Kha'Zix is just freezing that wave in the middle of the lane so that it doesn't go in and give him the opportunity to kill him.
Streak Up is taking some damage on the left-hand side, but the jump should get him right on out of there. I think what Big SB has earned, though, is that now Kha'Zix knows he's not afraid. And that's valuable, right? I mean, now Kha'Zix knows, hey, even when it's a bad fight or just a bad situation, he's not going to run. And he can put that, he's got that. That's it.
I would argue that that's actually an advantage for Kha'Zix, because he knows that no matter how bad the fight might be, he can still potentially kill the Osiris.
Nah.
Okay.
That's my new thing, by the way. When I present it with something that's probably objectively true, I'm just going to hit him with the nah.
I like it.
I like it too.
Yeah, I thought that was good.
Because what I think is strongest about it is that it's very dismissive.
Yeah.
And like condescending almost, which I like.
See, I don't think of it as condescending. I think of it as kind of childish, you know? Like it's, I'm done with this whole situation, and I like that about it.
Alka might be done with that situation in mid lane as Equality and Flippo put the hurting onto him. Even with that overhead kick, takes quite a bit of damage. But he's able to make it out A-okay. They had no real follow-up there without any lockdown. But they might meet over these mid-harpies. The knockup's there, but Equality can't get in a range to do anything more.
Little surprised Flippo doesn't just try and through space and time in Equality and just the insta-ult, though Alka would have had overhead kick back up and Mystic Rush. So probably the right call to play it a little bit slower in that position, but I love the aggressiveness, though. Equality's going to try and make him pay. He goes aggressive. It could get punished.
It does bring Alka very low shell, essentially the only thing keeping him alive at this point, but he is going to be able to back out. Now it's Flippo being chased by Popular, who is going to take that hit from the Unstable Vortex. A couple ultimates expended, 2 for 2, but really not much comes for it. Actually 3 when you count Popular's.
Yeah, 3 and the shell out of Popular there in the mid lane, so the two mages able to take him down.
I know he wanted to be Popular, but it's not spelled that way, and I won't say it. I'm going to say Popular.
Really?
Yes. 10-6 in some trouble. Drops the board, though, to get away. Impale finds its streak up. First blood for Sacred Speed Buff.
Kha'Zix almost jukes himself to death in that spot. Once you're dropping the stun, Streak Up is either beadsing and killing you, or he's not going to beads and you're out, so run straight. Streak Up doesn't really do either, actually. He ends up being a little bit hesitant with his decision-making, and I think if Kha'Zix had just walked out of there straight, he might have been able to live, but First Blood still goes the way of Sacred Speed Buff, and that's what I was saying during picks and bans. Terra shows up, you're kind of just dead as Artemis a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's not easy for Artemis to make it back out of there, and Streak Up does the right thing to make sure he punishes this Artemis, because once Artemis makes it to the late game, the team fighting all of the damage on her is having a hard time matching it. Angry Day getting chunked by Flippo in the mid lane too, but still no further follow-up or lockdown, so Angry Day can just sustain it up.
And that's what Giannis will do to you at this point in the game. It'll hurt, but you should be okay, especially with the talent trinket. He's got enough lifesteal between that and his first ability that he should be able to stick around and maybe even fight this, because Terra is fairly low.
They certainly have a chance, but Popular not positioning like they want to go any further aggressive. The hammer lands onto Equality, but Alka and Angry Day took the safe way around, so no chance for any more follow-up there, but they will grab those oracles at the very least, so some neutral farm going the way of Exordium.
Exordium has done a good job of controlling mid camps thus far. It's why Angry Day has an experience lead right now over Flippo. And that's why Last Lycan rotates over to make sure equality's there for left side mids. Because Alka has been there for mid camps quite a bit, but Angry Day alongside Alka has been too much for just Flippo to take down, or even Equality and Flippo at times, because you're so squishy in that 2v2. The Last Lycan rotating over, yes, it means you're getting less farm from the mid camps because you're triple splitting, but it's better than the enemy team getting them because you're taking it away from them and instead of just letting them have it.
Lycan is lurking in the jungle, but Ken6 recognizes, has that movement speed to help him get away. I do want to ask you a little bit about Angry Day going with this Aegis here too, because I imagine it's because you're against the Hebo and the B just doesn't help you nearly as much.
Yep.
And we are starting to get to the point where that might be less relevant. He's almost level 12, but I mean, if Lycan comes over, he might be in trouble, and also in trouble is Big SB.
Very much so. Lord of the Afterlife really well timed, and through space and time fired off to give him an escape route. It's good, but that's 2 ultimates expended for nothing on the side of Exordium. I mean, Big SB just tries to zone where he really can't.
Big SB yet again demonstrating that he doesn't care if the situation's detrimental to his health. That's so hard to play against if you're Kha'Zix.
In some ways, yeah. But in others, it's actually very easy to play around. You just go, hey, kill this guy.
And they couldn't.
Sure. Oh, they used 2 ultimates, and now we don't have to worry about. Now we can kill that guy.
Maybe
Finch, if we ever end up in a head-to-head competition
of what kind?
in SMITE,
Oh.
where you and I are on opposite teams.
Oh no.
I'd really like for you to
Play similarly to Big SB?
Yeah, just display the same dominance that the Big SB has displayed thus far.
I've already said I would die to not let you like back in my face or something like that. I get baited by that quite easily.
Yeah. I wrote that down.
Oh sure, I'm sure you did.
Yeah. Well, not like physically, but I just mean mentally.
Oh, it's up here. It's upstairs.
Yeah. It's locked away. The Iron Trap. Why'd you roll
Shaking in
your
my
eyes?
boots, by the way,
Why'd you roll your eyes when I said that?
because it's not an iron trap. Crushing wave can't make a dangry day. There's that Aegis just in case, and now it's Equality in
shell.
trouble. The shell keeps him alive. The portal locks down Alka. Now a chance for Sacred Speed Buff to turn the tide. The root lands, but Flippo didn't have any more abilities. Equality too far back. They make sure to keep themselves alive, but they can't find a return kill after the aggression onto Angry Day.
Last Lycan still has the ultimate. Didn't use Earth and Fury, but it was still able to save Equality with a really, really well-timed shell. That overhead kick would have done the job from Alka without a doubt. Pyromancer started and finished and started again. Exordium a little bit on the fence whether they want to do this or not.
Angry Day gets hit by that wall, but should still be okay. Turning around the Last Lycan is a great call. Angry Day finds the first kill for Exordium as Ken6 is going to take the matchup up against Streak Up that he does not want. Auto into the Impale, into the auto. He's down.
And there's really nothing Ken6 can do in that spot. I mean, I don't blame him for dying there. It's just that that's the pick. I don't know if it was Ken6 himself who said, give me Artemis here, or if his team said, you're playing Artemis, but I wouldn't be pleased with the party that gave that pick to me, even if it was of my own volition.
I'd have to see if it's at the tier 1 tower. I think I agree with you, but they are kind of in the jungle there. I wonder if Ken6 took that fight. It looked like we had just missed the boar being dropped and Streak Up Desert Fury through it.
It looked to me like Ken6 was trying to get oracles. Streak Up showed up and said, you're not allowed to be here,
Yeah, that's not for you.
and immediately killed him.
And,
Because he's not allowed to be there.
Yeah. And,
Because he's Artemis.
And
against
Streak Up
Honor.
is correct. Yeah, that matchup is in his favor pretty heavily at this point. He's been able to put that on display. Tier 1 tower even down in the dual lane now, which might actually be a boon for Ken6. If he can let the wave come down and meet him at the tier 2, maybe he can farm it a little bit safer.
Does potentially open up a Gold Fury when he's doing that, though.
That's true.
It takes him longer to get to gold. It gives Exordium, or Sacred Speed Buff rather, good vision of where he will be at any given time during a Gold Fury fight. And it looks like that is Ken6's plan, is to freeze the wave down here by tier 2. And I agree with you, this is the right call from Ken6 to do it this way, but it does present an opportunity for Sacred Speed Buff.
Yes, he's doing the right thing, but the way you punish that right thing, as you said, is with Gold Fury pressure, and that's exactly where Sacred Speed Buff are. They've already got Lycan and Streak Up there, putting damage into it, but the rotation, the calls from mid, is that virtually everyone is here. You should leave, and they did back up. In fact, the entirety of Exordium coming to the speed up to the Gold Fury, and they're quite good at these with the Uller and the double auto attack.
Quality's all the way in base, so this is a 4-on-5. Big SB's on the way, but Gold Fury already getting low. Unstable Vortex and Desert Fury
That's
and through
perfect.
space and time. all reset.
They all in commit from Sacred Speed buff. Now, not only do they not have that for the Gold Fury, they don't have those tools for the fight. As Earth and Fury does come out and hit quite a few people, Big SB wants to be the front line, and Ken6 is the target, but he misses the ultimate. Ken6 does get hit by the sickle. B's to get away from the slow, and he should be out unless Equality comes in.
Equality closes the gap, uses Crushing Wave into the tier 2, but it's still okay because Streak Up takes care of Angry Day. That is a tough fight to lose, where you bait out 2 ultimates and Giannis' only damage cooldown besides the ultimate, and still end up losing the team fight, but it's because Big SB rotates in and is unanswerable. Kha'Zix takes too much damage going for a pluck. That's the first time Last Lycans used Earth and Fury all game long, and what do you know, Sacred Speed Buff win a team fight easily on top of it.
It really does hurt, though, doesn't it? It kind of feels like Exordium did everything kind of by the book, the way you want to handle it in that situation. They rotate heavily to force Sacred Speed buff off the Gold Fury initially, because it was initially Lycan and Streak Up that thought they could strip it away with the pressure they had on Ken6. And then Exordium get everything, and they still couldn't make it work on the back end of it. It absolutely has got to hurt. Now, though, they have to try and regroup. They are down some gold, but it's not the end of the world. They still have an excellent team fight later on.
Yep.
If they can make sure they're still even. They just got to make sure they regroup.
Well, for now, Sacred Speed Buff should try and push it, because
Yes, Sacred Speed buff should.
Look at these relics on Exordium. I mean, they're basically all down. Alka has beads up, and that's it. That's the only relic available right now for Exordium. Where Sacred Speed Buff is missing a Blink, missing a Thorns, missing a Shell. Who cares? You have another Shell from Big SB anyways. This is a great opportunity for Sacred Speed Buff. They should be on Pyromancer right now. You need to be forcing fights in positions like this.
Pretty sure Streak Up hasn't been under duress all game long. So it's no surprise that he has those relics all available to him, right? I mean, they just haven't been able to get any pressure on him. He's been able to, just in the matchup, outpace Ken6, and there hasn't been any really attention from Alka over there on that side of the map. In fact, now Popular might be in some trouble. Slow lands. Root lands right at the edge. Popular, I believe, still has that jump available if he feels he needs it. And Sacred Speed Buff are just going to give it up.
Do like the Sacred Speed Buff is grouping as 5, though, and heading towards Pyromancer. This is much better, and they still have a window, but Blinks are now up for Kha'Zix and Alta. Still, Pyromancer goes down to Sacred Speed Buff. Good understanding from Exordium that they can't contest there. I'm sure they knew that was happening, but just knew that if they go in, they die.
And they're doing the right thing. They just got to try and farm it up safely. In particular, Ken6, who's down about a level and a half or 2 behind Streak Up right now, and just needs to try and find his way towards that late game Artemis where she can truly swing right alongside Angry Day and start kind of bursting through Equality, Flippo, and Streak Up before they're going to have their impact. But look at Sacred Speed Buff forcing down the tier 1, not going to give him room to breathe. In fact, immediately deleted Angry Day with the double.
Oh, no. Oh, not like this, Finch.
Wow.
No, not like this. That's not what, you can't do it that way. You don't want to, okay.
All right. He literally pulled out a soapbox.
He really did. When you are sieging, or in any team fight at all, the biggest sin you can commit is putting your mid and ADC right next to one another. The next biggest sin you can make is not using your relics. The third biggest sin you can make is going in 1 by 1. Sacred Speed Buff hit the triple right there. They hit all 3 of those things. This game was in a perfect position for them to ride that momentum. They take too long to group up. The Pyromancer pull is good, but because they took an extra wave, split up from the map, it meant that relics were up under mid tower. Then Flippo and Streak Up hold hands underneath the tier 1. Flippo uses beads at least, but no Aegis. Streak Up doesn't use a relic. They both get insta-killed because it was a blink knockup from Kha'Zix, I think, that prevented the Aegis from coming through. But you just can't ever be in the position where you're both getting hit by that.
Yeah.
You just can't. Then they form the line and conveyor belt in to the Fire Giant because apparently giving up your 2 carries in the Big SB isn't enough to lose in that team fight. So let's make sure we lose Fire and get Deicide simultaneously.
Man,
there are 3 different instances where that could have gone better, and they did the worst option in all 3.
Yeah, this is the darkest timeline if you're a Sacred Speed Buff fan for sure. Now, I'm not saying the game is instantly over, but I mean, with the early aggression that they had between this Hobwa, this on her so far, even last Lycan with some good Earthen Furies, it was their game to start moving in their direction. A nice clap from Angry Day, recognizing that some
Easy
errors
clap,
have been
dude.
made. Yeah,
Easy clap.
easy for him.
That is the dream. What he just got in that team fight. He had a really good angle to actually thread the needle, because Stellar Burst and Supernova hit onto Flippo and Streak Up. But of course, you're just looking for that because they're standing next to each other.
That was their moment. We were saying that they were right to be there. They just can't do it that
well,
way.
They were right to be at Pyromancer. They took too long to get to Tier 1 Tower because relics were coming up, and they weren't far enough ahead to really force it in that manner when all relics were up for Exordium.
Now it's Exordium. Let's see if they can do it a little bit better on the Tier 1. Popular jumps in, immediately gets knocked up and controlled, but the Tier 1 tower's already down. Draconic Corruption leads him right into the portal. He gets chunked, but he's able to leave and heal up. Through space and time, does clip Kin 6, but Exordium are okay with this. Kha'Zix now could be in a little bit of trouble. He can still lurk inside the waters and force Sacred Speed buff back.
Quality doesn't have beads, and he needs to be careful hanging out around there because just a blink root from Alka could spell a lot of trouble as Sacred Speed buff continues to chase in to this jungle, and this is close, but remember, Exordium has that Fire Giant buff.
And remember, Sacred Speed buff doesn't have through space and time. That was used to try and pick off Popular as Lycan goes in aggressively. The Boar is going to lock him down, and the pluck back in. Ken 6 finds the first kill of the fight, and this is exactly right. Exordium immediately turned their attention back to the Gold Fury.
Last Lycan just needs to ult. Earthen Fury's their only way they win team fights easily because their damage is so single target. They need some sort of AoE to keep the fight in their favor, and Earthen Fury is it. And Last Lycan has been stingy with the ultimate.
Yeah.
When he really should be very loose with it.
And if I can expound on what you mean by the AoE, it does kind of what AoE damage does, right? In that it lowers the kill threshold. It softens them up. And so that's what they need from Lycan the fights to at least turn him if he's going to die on the back end. Tier 2 tower now under siege. Popular does get stunned, but it's fine. Through space and time, clips through the uprights. Flippo now in trouble, has the portal, so Alka can't dunk him, but they're just going to turn their attention towards Lycan, who I believe just got back.
He did, but Alka will be sent back himself. Streak Up is able to make that happen. SP keeping the fight going, diving in amongst 4 and doing a good job.
In fact, he's forcing back Kha'Zix, who's rather low. Angry Day is looking for the autos and trade as Popular is low. Lycan just barely makes it back out. Now Equality's here, but he's low on mana. Exordium are kind of in between deciding if they want to keep going or if they want to relent, but it looks like they do want to try and find something else on the back end. Kha'Zix burns away the beads from Streak Up, who makes it out. Flippo can't find damage over the wall, and Exordium finally give up the chase.
We'll say that the last 2 blink initiations, or pluck initiations I should say, have been beads away nicely by Equality and now Streak Up in kind, so that's certainly looking better for them, but man, this Soul, you can see why these minor league teams are valuing her, because the teams are definitely having trouble handling her in these team fights.
And it's sort of nice, right? If things were going to be equalized anyway and they're trying to just force down towers or take these 50-50s, Soul is one of those gods that can kind of tilt it a little bit in your favor. You know, because she is so in between, she still gives you a nice mage in a fight with the Supernova Stellar Burst. Also another like auto attacker with those autos. So if things are kind of close, if they're messy a little bit, Soul's one of those gods that can kind of tilt it in your team's favor.
Angry Day has certainly done that. It's been him and Kha'Zix that have really been difficult to handle in these team fights. This Sobek is doing what Sobek does, which is out team fight you with ease.
Pyromancer now being looked at, and this is the right call from Exordium. Go ahead and burn this one down. There's really nothing else to look at, and they might not be able to safely do the FG, but I say that, and Exordium would like to put it to the test.
I feel like if you're pulling FG in this spot, you pull it first, because with you assume there's no ward vision, though Sacred Speed buff has hidden a ward away.
They for sure know you're here now.
They for sure know you're here now, as there's space and time clips Popular, but that's who wants to get hit by that. Flippo doesn't get a whole lot of value out of that ultimate yet again.
And Big SB is the front line in. Through space and time committed from Flippo, and it was in the right spot, just without any information, couldn't know that it was a bit too early. It does force Exordium, though, off of the Fire Giant for now. It's not leashed any longer, but it looks like they're trying to force the 5v5. They're ahead, but I don't know if they're enough ahead to take this fight convincingly.
6K is probably enough to be here and try and force this fight, but you don't want to overcommit at this point of the game. you really are just trying to dance and keep Sacred Speed Buff from farming during this time, because that leads you into a better position on the next goal.
Pluck on the big SB, but he drops the Thorns immediately to return some fire. Lord of the Afterlife comes out defensively, and there's Lycan dropping the Earth and Fury. It hits his team, but not really many from Exordium, aside from Angry Day, but that's enough for the reset one more time.
That's fine. That's fine there for Sacred Speed Buff and Exordium, really. Both teams probably pretty happy with the outcome of that fight. 3 ultimates expended by Sacred Speed Buff in total, though Flippo's is coming up soon. Now Alka going in onto Equality.
Forcing that ultimate to come out defensively. Lycan finds the root, but without a dash, he gets plucked back in. The portal is excellent to at least stop him getting thrown, but Supernova chunks him down. They don't have quite enough damage. Lycan makes it out. They relent.
Surprised that Exordium let off the gas there, but here they'll go back towards Fire Giant, but this is where that cooldown reduction from Flippo could come into play. And remember, Sacred Speed Buff do have vision on how healthy this Fire Giant is.
Big SB and Streak Up going to be the front line of defense to try and stop it through space and time. Not on the mark, but Pop Cooler is very low. Exordium grab the Fire Giant. They're going to grab the life of Big SB too. Kha'Zix on the left-hand side is healthy enough to make it back out. Exordium, the kills, the objectives, it's all going their way.
Sacred Speed Buff is just a little bit slow to react in a lot of these situations. Flippo fires off the ultimate, but it's to contest the front line for a Streak Up instead of hitting the Fire Giant and a carry to keep the fight in your favor. Kha'Zix and Popular are just doing too well right now on the front side. They've been a part of every single kill for Exordium. That tells you that every kill has been a part of a group up effort from them.
Right. And
neither of them have died. So it's just been a wall in front of Angry Day in particular. I mean, because everyone, look at the player damage. Alka's done a little bit. Kha'Zix has done very little. But it's just been Angry Day and this unkillable front line from Sacred Speed Buff for Exordium that Sacred Speed Buff can't really answer. And it's not getting easier for them because they're falling further behind in gold. Now, some key items have yet to be completed. Titan's Bane nearly done for Streak Up. That will help. Obsidian Shard is done for Flippo and Equality, and both are building even more pen, which is a good idea with how this game has gone so far. But they're going to need to focus a singular frontliner.
Yeah.
That's not easy when Kha'Zix and Popular have been bait and switching you constantly in these team fights really well. It's really going to need to be an impressive defense now from Sacred Speed Buff.
And they may not have a ton of damage outside Angry Day, but remember that total damage threshold they need to cross is a little bit lower than normal. Sacred Speed Buff aren't going with that tinky jungler, right? They've got the Hopwa over there. That means between Streak Up, Flippo, and Equality, there's 3 relatively squishy targets that you don't need as much as you normally would to either force them back or get a kill or to win the fight convincingly. So Exordium are still in a good spot as they force down all the Tier 2 towers, have tons of gold to go back and spend, and can come back in and try and force down Sacred Speed Buff with a heavily auto-attack focused squad.
And that's a good point to make right now, especially because with this heavily auto-attack focused squad, you get on top of a Phoenix for even just a little bit, and it's not going to last for very long, especially with Popular's Emperor's armor, really objective focused with that pickup. Exordium just now needs to make sure that their front line isn't going too deep because more pen is done now for Sacred Speed Buff. Titan's Bane should be done before this next siege. Sphere of Desolation is done for Equality, Divine Ruin for Flippo. So you need to be wary of that. You're going to be taking significantly more damage than you were before. And Angry Day just needs to stay safe on this backside because he has been all of the damage so far for Exordium.
It's really hard not to go back to that, not just the fight around that Tier 1 tower where Angry Day gets that big blow up, but then the subsequent Fire Giant that comes afterwards. Sacred Speed Buff really might have just given up too much in that moment, and Exordium have not slowed down since. 11K out in front as Alka pushes down mid and the rest of the team is on the duo side of the map.
This is the right idea. Separate the team and let your auto attackers deal the damage to the Phoenixes, and you don't have to commit all at once. This is the right way to do it. Go in 20% here. Next wave 25%. Next wave we full commit and get it.
Alka actually does get Flippo to come over to the right-hand side via a portal. Kha'Zix and Popular go forward through space and time to bring everyone back in. Exordium very safely and very quickly disengage there, so they should be clean to go in one more time.
Alka to try and take the 1v1 up against Equality and come up with a lot of air on that blink engagement, and that means Equality should be A-okay. Up and over, though, on the crushing wave, and now it's Equality who gets brought down. That one hurts.
It absolutely
That was a great
does.
ult by Alka.
Yeah, that changes things entirely. Now the 5v4 in Exordium's favor can start on the left-hand side. Angry Day is the first one in, takes a bit of poke, but makes it back out with that Disapparate. Popular zoning, and Ken6 and Angry Day shred the left side Phoenix, no problem. Now to move right on over to that mid-side Phoenix. Popular stuns out Lycan, but that's not what they're looking for. They want to find their way into the Phoenix.
There should be another Phoenix. I can't imagine Sacred Speed Buff are able to mount a defense from here. Last Lycan still has ultimate though, so maybe that could be enough as SB's looking for Ken6 right on top of him with that Thorns. Artemis on the run as that Earth and Fury comes out on the top side, but Angry Day is still able to make it happen, but Streak Up answers back.
Ends up finding him. That was Beads and the ultimate forced out all by Big SB. Huge to bring down, help trying to bring down Angry Day on the right-hand side by forcing out Ken6 on the left-hand side, and that's enough. They can't get them in Phoenix out the back end of that. Surprisingly enough, they get very little damage onto the actual structure.
So normally in those sorts of situations, it's hold that thought, through space and time's available, and Flippo was hunting Ken6, able to stay out of range of that unstable vortex and force both back basically by himself. So in fights like that, when a solo laner ults on top of your hunter, a lot of times what's the proper play is to just let the hunter run as far away as possible and become the sacrifice for the Phoenix. You just let SB run him down, everyone else surges forward and gets the Phoenix. But there, with Sacred Speed Buff's positioning and the fact that Angry Day's relics were both down, and in particularly Sacred Speed Buff's positioning in relation to the big SB, if Exordium just moved back as a unit, collapse upon the big SB, kill him pretty easily, but you pull him down a little bit further, like towards speed buff range, and then just push forward again, you get an easy Phoenix at that point. But instead, Sacred Speed Buff kind of split the difference. Angry Day takes too much damage. He lost both relics because he tanked the Phoenix on the left-hand side when he didn't need to, just needed to show a little bit more patience. That opens the door for the engagement to go back in Sacred Speed Buff's way. Look, Exordium got a Phoenix. They're going to get an enhanced Fire Giant now. Certainly not bad for them, but they could have gotten more.
And I'm right there with you, and it was a little bit sloppy the way they moved from left to mid Phoenix anyway.
Yes.
I think they spent too much time in between. Popular went for the stun, and the rest of the team kind of was just hesitant when they really needed to move in and let Popular or Kha'Zix tank right away and get back behind the line. If they're going to do that again, that part needs to be cleaned up too.
The big SB has done well in these last few team fights. I mean, the laning phase had a couple question marks for me, but since the team fighting stage, this Osiris has done a good job of keeping pressure onto Ken6. And here, if you're Exordium, no reason to force this early. You can try and poke it out, but be careful because Angry Day is still without relics.
Angry Day is a little bit far forward, is into the Disapparate though, so he should be A-okay.
Now I'm waiting for next wave if I'm Exordium, because your relics are up so soon.
Alka is going to try and force down the mid Phoenix one more time, but Big SB is right there with him to punish. So is Equality. He's kind of cheating in between to help Big SB if he needs it or get right back on his side, and it's actually working out really well. Alka's getting poked.
Alka is never going to win a poke fight against an Osiris at this point, because if you're hitting him, he's under Phoenix, and you're taking a tower shot. And one Phoenix shot is more damage than you will do to the Osiris, and he can do what SB just did, which is back to base and be full health right away. It works a little bit better against the Hoblock because you can out-trade, not against someone that's tanky.
Yeah, Big SB and Equality have played it very well so far. Big knock-up onto 3 members. Angry Day, in particular, is low. Lord of the Afterlife comes in. Ken6 has been forced out. Through space and time, doesn't find a ton on the back end. But one more time, Sacred Speed Buff force him back.
Stun off the mark there from Popular in the mid lane. Alka has to try and ult away. SB served up, but not brought down yet. It's Equality who's able to flatten 2 members of Exordium, and Sacred Speed Buff now is surging forward.
Man, these Phoenix Sieges have become a real problem for a lot of these teams, not just in the minor league, at the pro level too, on console. Everywhere where we have these leagues, they've got to start cleaning up these Phoenix Sieges. It's not enough anymore to just be out in front. Alka's doing the right thing, trying to be the one that splits over to the mid Phoenix and split their focus, but Equality and Big SB have just been handling it.
Alka, that fight, you can't join the fight with your ult down at 20%.
Yeah.
That is not the way to do it.
He didn't have anywhere else to run, though.
He didn't have anywhere else to run, but it's because he got to 20% in the first place. He's got to do a better job of understanding that his job isn't to poke in that position, it's to poke the Phoenix. It's not to poke the enemy god, it's to poke the Phoenix. Whereas Sacred Speed Buff, whoever's there defending, their job is to clear the wave and poke Alka simultaneously. Sacred Speed Buff is just doing a better job of that in the mid lane. The really successful jungler split-ups and the 4v1s come from players like Cuvo Fred. Cuvo is one who always is looking to not hit you, but get the Phoenix.
Yeah, he's really good at it.
And he wants you to use abilities on him. He'll overhead kick or just dodge them outright, and then he'll just commit to the Phoenix, and you'll hit him, and you'll get him down to 60% or so, but he gets the Phoenix during that time. And then if you kill him, he doesn't care. He did his job, and I think that Alka needs to take a page out of that book. Is focusing the objective. The name of the game there isn't killing your opposition in the 1v1, it's getting the objective.
And he ends up kind of failing on what I think is really the key objective when you're branching off, right? Which is to try and force the hand of the defenders to overcommit onto you. Because he chases them towards the team, they're able to simultaneously commit onto him and be in the fight to help out. So it's not going to be a 5v4 that you're trying to set up for yourself. It actually was just a 5v5 that Alco couldn't help it.
It's the it's the classic. Okay, keep them away from us, and then you see your teammate running at you, like, hey guys, I brought them here.
Right.
And no.
Also, I'm no help because I'm 20% HP.
Right, exactly. Like stop, turn around. Like,
Yeah.
you don't, this is bad. You shouldn't have come this way. And Alka definitely needs to do a better job in the next opportunity. But now, Sacred Speed Buff has gotten so much farm from sitting underneath the Phoenixes and just waiting. They're nearly full build.
Yeah.
And their full build is just better than Exordium's, because they've got the Hebo and the Honest to get those one-shot potentials. Look at what Angry Day just took.
Oof.
I mean, this is not a good spot now for Exordium.
And I want to give credit to SB because I think or Sacred Speed Buff in general, I think the adjustment to put SB as the defender instead of Equality is what made that defense so good for them. I think that goes a little bit better if it's just Alka Equality over there, but instead Equality sort of cheating and it's Big SB winning the trade.
Right, exactly. Big SB right up in front again, but Alka, stopping for this one for, gets poked out a little bit, down to half HP now from Equality.
Alka, in fact, has to retreat entirely. Equality winning the trade handily. Ken6 does come back in to force him back, but look at this. It's now Sacred Speed Buff controlling the position around the Fire Giant as it spawns, and Exordium trying to siege in.
Pull it, exactly. You know, Alka's got to go back to base. He definitely did, and so now you've got a 5-on-4 for at least a limited amount of time. Fire Giant already getting low, and it looks like the commit is there. Sacred Speed Buff got it.
But Supernova does bring Big SB low, but Equality changes everything with a big ultimate. Big SB follows up with Lord of the Afterlife, and Ken6, we hardly knew ye, sent back to the base. Kozak has to dash away to try and find his way out, but the stun's there. Lurking in the water's good, and Sacred Speed Buff looking for a tower.
They can get more than just a tower here potentially with Ken6 down, but they are a little bit weak. Fire Giant regen will help. Last Lycan's Monolith will help. This is a tower siege here. I don't think you go for Phoenix in this spot. In fact, backing because your relics are all down is probably a good idea. Let's hope this time around Flippo and Streak Up are on opposite sides.
When they try and make their siege. Don't want to get blown up by Angry Day again. But man, how much of a difference has the response to Alka made in these last few team fights? It's been instrumental, and in particular Equality. It's just too much damage that he's putting in to this Robin. He's not going to win the poke trade with the Habwa. It just can't happen. And then, because it's essentially a 5v4, Alka has to fall back. Sacred Speed Buff can force the objective. Now they're the ones who are in a much more confident position. I don't know if they're ready to group up and siege or not, but we'll have to see.
I think they can. I think they can siege it down these towers. I don't know that pushing a Phoenix at this point is very wise for Sacred Speed Buff, but give yourself more win conditions.
Yeah.
Just get the towers off the map, make the Titan that much squishier, and get your final pieces. Only one player needs a final piece in their build, and that's Last Lycan. I do think that this is one of the very few areas where Sobek isn't what you need all the time. Now, Kha'Zix has done a great job in this game. That's not what I'm saying. But what I mean is, let's say that the solo laners are swapped, and Kha'Zix is playing this Osiris. It's very easy for him to keep Equality in combat without losing his team a whole lot of teamfight presence. It's constant little pokes to keep him in combat. Whereas, because it's a Sobek, because he is the initiator for Exordium, it means that Equality can stay out of combat for a long time and get these huge Blink ultimates. He hasn't been Blink knocking up or anything like that. It's just been Blink crushing wave. And it's done, Blink crushing waves this game have probably done at least 5,000 damage. I mean, it's always onto a priority target. So Sacred Speed Buff doesn't have a really easy way to initiate themselves, but they're letting Kha'Zix initiate, and then Last Lycan can counter-initiate with Earth and Fury, and then it's just a Blink Hebo ult, whereas Exordium has no way to keep Equality off the Blink.
Working for them so far, but let's see if it's a little bit different on the Phoenix Siege side. They got a little bit more understanding of the directions that can come from. Maybe it should be easier. They're not the ones that have to worry about the split up as much this time. They can send who they want to go play defense instead of having to try and send Alka. The complexion of it should be different for them.
Alka daring someone to come through Flippo's portal. No one will do so. The problem with Habwa, though, is that on the other side of this coin,
Get out of
whereas Alka could threaten getting a Phoenix by himself, you really can't as this Habwa jungle. Now, he does have Polynomicon, so maybe you could consistently, you know, just knock up auto attack, and poke that Phoenix down, but you're so squishy that it seems a little bit more risky when you're on the offense.
They're letting it be a quality. He's got the mid lane pushed up, and so far, Exordium haven't sent much over. Big SB is getting chunked, but Kha'Zix's caught by the portal, but Big SB, Lord of the Afterlife, comes out defensively.
That's a big cooldown alongside Thorns. That means he's a lot
Quality, though.
Okay.
Removes Kha'Zix from the game on the backside. Through space and time hits Kha'Zix as well. They do have some good damage coming from Angry Day, but it's too little too late. Now they're trying to lock down Alka. Phoenix already down as well. Big SB can't quite lock him down, but they'll just turn on the Popular.
Great Stellar Burst to slow everybody from Sacred Speed Buff down. Kha'Zix has just got to do something, then get Blink knocked up. You have to react to the Blink sound at this level. It's hard to do. I get it, but you got to do it.
Alka wants to blink onto a quality, but a bit misguided. He ends up losing half his HP for the trouble. Stun from Lycans there. Root as well. No more tools available, but Sacred Speed Buff can't afford to get that close. Kha'Zix doing a good job zoning them out. Sacred Speed Buff have to regroup around mid-Phoenix.
Last Lycan has just got to use the ultimate at some point. I mean, I don't know how you go through that team fight without using Earth and Fury. They win it, I get it, but what are you picking Terra for if it's not to ult in team fights, right? He's got to pull the trigger.
Absolutely. I don't have an argument in the defense of it. I mean, a couple of people get away, very low HP. Popular and Alka both managed to kind of just squeak their way out of that fight.
Yep.
And 100% Earth and Fury is enough damage to change that.
Hopefully Sacred Speed Buff support able to turn that around next time, but now it's Exordium's turn to try and pull that Phoenix defense. Sacred Speed Buff was very successful at it. Let's see if Exordium can match it.
That left side Phoenix, though, is already down. That's important. That's on the side where Exordium's one Phoenix has gone down as well. So now the win condition is in the same lane. You kind of want to push up anyway for Sacred Speed Buff, as it looks like Exordium are giving up on this Fire Giant. They kind of have to. Kha'Zix is defending left.
Rush Pyromancer while you can. Get that global gold. It's also really good to have Pyromancer on the defense of Phoenixes because it lets you back to base and get to your Phoenix back faster. It actually is pretty helpful, but now it's the 5th Fire Giant down, and Sacred Speed Buff trying to make another play.
I just thought you had great recall. It's up there, isn't it?
Well, I did look at it.
I didn't realize that. That's cool.
You never realized that?
I literally did not. No, I'm not joking.
Oh, that's crazy. I totally looked at that.
I just thought you had great recall. I was like getting all impressed, and that wasn't the case. Sacred Speed Buff, though.
How have you casted this long without knowing that?
I don't know. I just never looked. I knew the timer and all that stuff was up there, yeah, but I just didn't realize that's a little.
That's crazy.
Who got each one? That's nice, though, as Big SB is getting removed. Equality, though, does find Angry Day on the backside. Double kill, in fact, for the Habwa. At the very least, so Alka is able to find one and bring down Big SB. Now, Equality has gone too far forward, but Flippo answers back by taking down Kha'Zix. Right side Phoenix removed as Alka goes on a killing spree.
Last Lycan here, still with Flippo, trying to save his life, but I don't think he'll be able to do so. Double kill for Alka. As Exordium lose the right side Phoenix, but keep the game alive. Lycan did use the ultimate that fight, though, so we feel better about that.
That's good, though, at the very least, to be able to try and find that ultimate coming out, some kind of defensive measure so that Sacred Speed Buff can't rip this game away. But, man, it's been back and forth. The early game felt all Sacred Speed Buff. They overstep on the Tier 1. They overstep on that Fire Giant defense. Then it's all Exordium for like 20 minutes. And then Exordium can't quite make the siege happen. They move between the Phoenixes incorrectly. They can't siege their way in. Sacred Speed Buff get a couple Fire Giants, and now they're the ones sieging. And now they're able to defend and push them back. It's very, very even between these two teams. At this point, the gold and experience feels almost irrelevant. It's just about who has the Fire Giant buff and can win the fights.
Who has the Fire Giant buff and who has the 3K potions. That's
true.
Basically it. Those are the real only two factors at this point. You expect Sacred Speed Buff to be the one who's on the offensive, just because they're the ones the Phoenix is down, but we've seen Exordium turn it around before, so who knows at this point. 3K for Alka, 3Ks for Equality, and Streak Up on the other side. Equality is really the man to watch from here on out.
100%.
He has been for a while now, but with a 3K pot and a power potion, he will truly one-shot someone with his ultimate.
Straight up remove them from the game. That'll be the option here from Equality, as they're going to wait a little while longer before they go for the Siege. No one else but Lycan has that Fire Giant buff any longer, so that's not available to them. You know, I was thinking, Ryan.
What's that?
I won the last poll, right? And
You
maybe
did.
they don't think that that name was that great. They just like me more. Had you considered that?
I have.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case.
So your name sucks, is what you're saying.
I'm saying it could suck, and that they don't care because of how much they like me.
It is really
Thanks,
blowing,
Mixer Chat.
It's really blowing my mind that you cast it this long without knowing that there were counters on how many Gold Fury. You know, there's one
I
for
thought
Gold Fury
Totally
as
was
well.
nuts too. I mean, I see that now. I
Yeah.
see. I thought Totally was nuts, just remembering all that, knowing who has what, and it's up there.
You've
It's
been
just
here for
sitting there.
over a year.
I have been, yes.
You casted it at Worlds,
I did.
and you didn't know about this.
I didn't. I was just remembering the best I could. Was what I thought everyone else was doing.
What else? What else do you? I mean, there's a lot of tools in the spectator client.
I use a lot. I use this bottom tray a lot. I kind of live down there, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I hang out.
Yeah, that's
I,
pretty good.
I very much rely on the right side as well, but I mean, I don't know. I didn't see those counters up there.
You know, these diamonds represent if their ultimate is up.
Is that how you guys know?
Yeah.
I'm
We
just
don't
kidding. That one I'm joking.
We don't just remember the cooldowns.
We had to remember the other one. That's crazy. I didn't know that was up there. Now I do. All right. 5 times the Fire Giant's gone down this game. I can say confidently 4 times on the Gold Fury even, Ryan.
Wow, how many did Exordium get of those Gold Furies?
3. Which I now know.
Great,
and
great
couldn't have
memory
done
fit.
before.
Man, I could have messed with you so much before this. I could have been asking you every long game how many objectives a team.
I
had
would have been
taken,
like, how could I know?
and I would have looked like a wizard.
I thought you were for a moment today. It happened. Man, I can't believe it. I feel bad. But you know, you learn something new every day. Every day that you live, you learn. And today I learned a little bit. I learned
What
that
am I
Mixer
gonna
Chat's on my side. You learned that too. You learned I'm better at
You
coming up
learned
with
that I had
names.
2 hermit crabs as a kid, one named Hermie, one named Sacagawea.
I already flushed that memory out. I keep
You don't
very
think
little about
you
you
don't
in
think
my mind.
Sacagawea is a funny name for a
I do
hermit
not.
crab?
I don't.
Why not?
Because there's no joke.
It's just it's a lot to name a hermit crab.
Right. It's the name of someone who's important in a certain culture and also your hermit crab.
Right, and that's funny.
Yeah. I mean, okay.
Finch, if you walked in tomorrow and said, "Hey guys, I got a lizard," and I was like, "Oh yeah, what'd you name it?" and you said Mahatma Gandhi, I'd be like, "That's pretty funny."
Would
that
you?
that would make me laugh. Yeah, it absolutely would.
Okay. Sacred Speed. I'm going to try one more time on the right side, Phoenix, as I mercifully end that conversation with Ryan. It's up to Exordium to try and find one more big defense. If Equality's the man to watch on Sacred Speed Buff, who's the one to watch on Exordium to try and slow him down?
Angry Day has just got to get good poke damage off of these fights. That's the key.
Well, he immediately gets stunned out, and that means that there's room for the right side Phoenix to go down. Very clean from Sacred Speed Buff. They only needed a small window to find their way in. They grab it, and now they can look towards mid. Left side Phoenix has respawned if they want to go there, but they've got plenty of time on this Fire Giant to go wherever they please.
I do think Equality's 3K pot should be running kind of low. His purple pot should be as well, but you should be able to buy another one of those pretty easily. Not sure if you actually can get timer on those. I don't think you can. This is something that I would have to memorize the moment that he used it, how long it lasts, and how much time.
Either way, though, the number of Fire Giants for each team has equalized out. That's incredible when you think about how it used to not be that way.
Right.
Thanks to the tracker that I have of it at my disposal, I
Wait.
now realize is that way.
Right, yes, I agree.
That's why I spoke about it, just exercising all the tools at my disposal. You know what? I've been a sick caster without it. It's over for you fools. I have even more than ever. It's over.
I guess you're right. we had our time in the sun.
That's right.
And now it's all done for us. This is really gonna level you up, Finch.
That's right, man. What is it? Super Saiyan God? I don't watch Super.
It is Super Saiyan God.
Yeah.
I haven't watched a lot of Super either, though.
Left side Phoenix, though, that's going to be the call for Sacred Speed Buff. It's up to Exordium to find a way to defend. Man, for a moment, I thought this was going all them. And this would be one more match. Remember, Milky Way just lost. They're right there in the middle of the pack. This is going to open the door up if Sacred Speed Buff can grab this game. Angry Day low on the backside. He has to fall back. Phoenix does take some poke, but the board getting some good work done through space and time. Can't find anyone, but Ken6 needs a friend. He needs some help, and Angry Day's that person.
Good peel. Ken6 stays up. Now Left Phoenix does not, and the big SB still in plenty of trouble. Alka trying to finish him off. Mystic Rush not enough, but Flippo able to stand strong as well. Streak Up brings him down, as now it's just the mid Phoenix, and it's already weak.
In the 5v4, this should favor Sacred Speed Buff. Popular jumps in aggressively, gets stunned, gets poked, and has to retreat. Portal there, but no one can take that one. Exordium going to fall back and defend the one Phoenix that they still have standing. Sacred Speed Buff on the door of taking down Exordium.
Just wait. No reason to play this quickly. Play it slow here if you're Sacred Speed Buff, especially with the quality who still has Crushing Wave. Check out where he's sitting, trying to get a good angle. Now there is a ward there, so he counter wards and is now going to try and use this angle to maybe sneak up on Angry Day.
But they got to keep that in the back of their minds. He's
Or just
right
kill the
there.
Titan.
Flippo comes through as well to try and keep Kha'Zix busy. Mid Phoenix is being bursted down by Streak Up. Flippo finds Angry Day on the back end. Pluck is going to bring a quality back, but it's too little too late. All three Phoenixes down. Sacred Speed Buff on the precipice of bringing in the Fire Minions to take down the Titan. It can't handle it. Too much pressure. Sacred Speed Buff gonna take the game.
Sacred Speed Buff had it in the beginning, threw it all away with one just horrendous engagement.
Really bad.
Exordium was in control for the next, 30 minutes almost?
Yes.
And then eventually Sacred Speed Buff was able to turn it around, and it's all off the back of that Hobwa jungle.
Yeah, I really think the quality's the one.
That's pretty easy MVP vote for me.
Yeah, what a great performance from him. And I want to make sure it's not just that tier 1 tower play that we're saying is horrendous. It's followed up then by the fire giant push that's bad. So it might sound a little bit harsh, but it was really like a 2-minute long fiasco for them. That could have easily lost them some games elsewhere if that happens again, and Exordium couldn't close it out.
Yeah, that should have been a loss there for Sacred Speed Buff. Just based on that engagement alone.
Yeah.
You're not going to get away with a fight like that against Optimus Gang, against Insignum.
No.
You will not win games that way. So certainly need to clean that up, but their defense was great. Their sieging was good enough, and so they earned the victory.
But man, doesn't that just kind of clump things up now in the standings?
Yep.
Milky Way losing and Exordium. That was your 3 and 4, I believe, right?
Yeah, so that puts them at what? 2 and 4.
And everyone else now, I think, at 2 and 3. Yeah, 2 and 3, sure.
Yeah,
they're all
with
right
one game
there
to
with
go.
them. It is a mess down there if your name is not Insignum or Optimus Gang. To be honest, that's the best news for Insignum.
Yes.
All of their closest competitors, and not to say that they were in danger of falling immediately, but all their closest competitors have now lost.
Exactly.
That's a nice bit of breathing room for them.
Exactly. And the closest competitors that they expected, I think, got blown out in ways or had really bad engagements here and there. So even if the losses aren't enough, it's like, okay, they're playing that way. We feel like we're really confident in going into our matches against them.
Definitely some areas to exploit for those two top-end teams. But we'll see. The minor league, man, it just keeps heating up. It keeps getting closer and closer. There's still one more set for you to all to enjoy, though. We're going to get everything ready for that, make sure the players are raring to go, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the SMITE Minor League for the final game of today. Going to be an interesting one too. It's Exordium up against Optimus Gang. Optimus Gang still undefeated since, well, the performances today, they did beat Insignum so far.
I'm mostly curious to see whether or not Johnny's going to get AO again.
He will.
Gonna throw it out there. Gotta be completely real. I have no idea what Exordium has up their sleeve, but I think a nice starting point would be taking Johnny off of probably his best god.
We'll keep talking about it. One day they might experiment and listen. It may not result in the victory though overall. But let's find out how the draft works out. The fishes on the left hand side and the G's on the right, I guess is the best way to put it.
Optimus
nice
Gang.
logos.
Yeah, I could see what you were going for there.
I was trying, but then I'm like, well, okay.
Imagine if there was like a little mini G inside of the Exordium fish.
Why?
Then it could be 2 circles with G's.
Oh.
That support each other in the SML.
Oh my god, it's now Quangbang. Thank God we got off that subject. Ratatoska in response from Optimus Gang. So Johnny's not going to get his god this game. Huzzah! What else has he got?
Exordium are going to force him to flex the god pool a little bit here. I think that Robin could be in order, even possibly the Serkant. We've seen a lot of prioritization lately, at least in the SPL, which I'm sure is going to carry over a little bit towards SML eventually. A lot of these god choices that are being heavily selected at the start, I think it's just because of all the control that they can actually introduce, and Baron's no different.
No different at all. Baron picks up and in response immediately Sobek. We did see Sobek played in the support role earlier on today when Optimus Gang played, but maybe this time it could be in the solo to deal with the Baron, which we see most of the time.
I like that Optimus Gang actually chose to go for the Sobek as a response pick. I think that it can provide some good anti-heal already with the Sickening Strike, on top of the fact that Sobek just has a lot of survivability. So if it is a Sobek in the support role, I wouldn't be upset, but I think I would prefer to see Sobek in solo, just because I'm assuming that this is going to be a Baron in the solo lane.
Well, you mentioned the Raven for Optimus Gang, and actually Exordium going to take that one away as an option from Optimus Gang to take. So still holding on to their jungle pick, Optimus Gang here, as they lock in Agni. Agni kind of fell a little bit. Was that much of a nerf? I mean, they took a little bit of damage off his ultimate, but then since then, everyone seems to slowly drifted down the standings again.
I still think that Agni's got it.
Yeah, me too.
He provides enough space control to warrant a pick any day of the week, if you ask me. Not to mention that I think Agni's dash is very important escape mechanism to utilize against Robin. Robin has such great dive potential with that Mystic Rush, but if he's not careful with the timing on those dives, then you never know if Agni's going to be able to get the stun out in time.
Good work from Exordium here. I really like those counterbands here. Wheelix, because you've got Sobek and Jingwei anyway. Lots of knockups there. Don't give the ability to have that. And Susano, so trying to limit what Johnny can do assassin-wise. The question is, where does he head to? The Athena locked in, that can jungle. But will we see Johnny play? We've seen it before, I know.
I'm not too sure that I'd be super keen on Johnny with the Athena jungle. Rather see him on a little bit of a burst-based assassin instead, or something with a little bit of heavier setup and damage, because I am a little bit concerned here for Optimus Gang's damage in the early game. I think that they do have plenty of survivability and can at least stalemate their laning phases, but Exordium have put themselves in a very great position here with the Robin, Artemis, and Thoth. That's more than enough damage.
So here's Vamana jungle then for Johnny?
It could be a Vamana jungle. Warrior into the warrior, I guess, might be the mentality here, but Robin, not necessarily a warrior any longer. You gotta keep in mind, he was shifted to an assassin not too long ago now, and if it is Vamana in the jungle, I think the only issue I'd really find with this is just target focus.
I think Vamana might be solo as well. Like, solo into the Baron makes sense. I mean, big baby form can cause some problems. So it's going to be Sobek solo, Johnny jungle Vamana, Athena in the support role. The questions have all been answered as we get into game now and see how this one begins. I'm really surprised that we still see Mage's Blessing getting picked up in mid lane by mid laners. As the season's progressed, more and more people have moved away from that item at the start of the game. Yet Farrakrik here going to go back to it.
I think he just wants some of the MP5 sustain, is expecting to play this lane a little bit more slowly, maybe not wanting to find himself out of position, because if he does try to play the typical Agni, if he'd gone for a Bancroft's rush, so to say, and then he tried to play aggressively, you never know when Alka is going to come zooming in from right around the corner, and as a Robin, no real surprises seeing the blink either. I think that Farkrik's just going for the safe but Pretty much just the safe, not sorry route.
I get you. I think it gives you a little bit more sustain with the extra potion, sure, so you can stay out there a little bit longer, but I feel like it hurts your damage. And this is where Farrakrick is in trouble now, because Angry Day, with the tier 2 of Book of Top, has a little bit more power at this stage of the game too. He shouldn't really be winning the lane against an Agni and pushing this much in, but great pressure from Angry Day so far.
Actually already popped one of those Barons, Brew. Farrakrick gonna get some return poke, but not nearly as much as what he received, and instead, Alka now blinking forward, trying to get the commit there onto Johnny, but evade and punish just gonna be off the mark there. Angry Day.
You can't call it evade and punish if it doesn't punish. It was just evade. That's what happened there.
And for that,
I
they
did that
will
on
pay a
purpose.
price.
They will, as the red buff does get invaded. It's still juked around, and Kaspanify will pick it up, but Shell used and prevents a nice bit of that damage onto the dual lane of Optimus Gang. But they're still getting run down by 4 members as Johnny and Farrakrick still farming up the mid lane. Fusify off on an adventure into enemy territory, and Raven chasing him down with a speed buff. How long can he survive?
Root's going to be up any second now for Alka, but it won't even be necessary. Popular is going to end up getting stunned despite that chase down out of Alka, and it does pay off in the long term, but Alka's been a really long time committing for that kill, and I can't help but wonder, Johnny just got the farm that entire period.
He did, alongside Farrakrick in the mid lane. The bad news is there wasn't that many camps up in the jungle overall. Now, grand scheme of things, this gave Kaspanify a lead in the dual lane over Ken6, but the problem is that Fusify is now going to be a little bit further behind than he'd like to be with that little tumble he took in the jungle.
I'm uncertain as to whether or not that's an invade Exordium want to look to repeat, in fact, because...
I think at 5, I think it's a good call with Agni. I mean, Agni's going to be level 5 at that point. The bomb's raining over. No?
A life for a red buff, though. They might
right.
have control of the timer. If anything, I see maybe a toss-out from Optimus Gang, like you just mentioned, Farrakrick with the bomb over the wall, but not a heavy commit like what we just saw to Kaspanify.
Nice trap from Ken6, and the turnaround play is interesting. The beads were forced on Ken6, though, as the gust came through perfectly from Kaspanify for the extra damage. Popular, though. I did like that placement of his actual sustain on the map there. Putting the obelisk down, block some of the shots Kaspanify could put in towards the Artemis.
Fusify just playing all-out aggression here onto Ken6, and Kaspanify won't be able to connect the Persistent Gust this time around. Believe the ability was still on cooldown. And now Ken, without those beads, has to play a little bit more passive here underneath this tower line. Can't really afford to step up past this halfway mark, because if he does, one taunt is really all it takes from Fusify, and Kaspanify will be able to chase him.
Yeah, this duo lane has been together for quite a while for Optimus Gang, through the Pro League, back towards the Minor League again. But they are aggressive, consistently, over and over again. I think Exordium really need to look at having Alka rotate over to this lane a little bit more so in these early stages and put a bit of pressure there. I mean, Angry Day in the mid lane, he's already level 5. He can free farm for days from range to not have to worry so much about Johnny getting towards him anyway.
Alka either needs to rotate a duo to help alleviate some of the pressure, or we can just keep an eye out for Angry Day, who won't be able to get off that final judgment there for Johnny.
Would you have unleashed that? I think I would have, but it was a good stun, if anything, from Farrakrick to stop it happening. The question is, would he have fired it even if he could?
He would have fired it without the stun. I think that's a kill if Angry Day connects.
Oh, it could be a kill anyway, because Alka managed to blink in range of Johnny, and Johnny was in combat, so couldn't counter blink in response. Another kill to Exordium then, and good start for them, is now they're the ones that invade the red buff and could look towards the purple.
Kaspanify has no idea what's about to fall on top of him. Final judgment, a little bit of overkill there because the Mystic Rush did plenty of burst.
That was amazing.
I love this aggression though, from Exordium. That is exactly the kind of stance you need to be taking when your dual lane is already under fire. You're just helping them out a little bit.
Man, that was just a good moment of interest more than anything else. I'm surprised Kaspanify did not think that the red buff and purple may be getting invaded, or he could be under pressure. He had his back to the enemy, and the moment he turned around, that final judgment hit his face. He's already been hit by the fist.
You almost have to wonder if that's just miscommunication on Optimus' gang's behalf, because the second that Johnny dies right by the red buff is the exact same moment that Kaspanify should have backed off entirely.
Johnny could be in trouble again. He's going to ult in defensive and get an ult from Fusify too. Alka escapes the damage from that now, but he can't escape the taunt after the fact. Still trying to survive as long as possible as Popular gets a very good shell off, and that almost kept Alka alive until the bomb from Farrakrick gets Optimus Gang on the board.
I'm surprised he didn't just go a little bit to the right. He was so committed to running in a straight line. A slight sidestep, and Alka was out of there.
Almost, but not enough. So the gold is still only 400 gold separating the two. Optimus Gang holding in this and actually have an experience lead. Very similar to the Insignium game earlier on, where one team's winning on kills, but the other one's winning on farm.
And Johnny has spent a little bit more time, I would say, than Alka looking to farm. And a lot of that just starts with how long it took Alka to find the first blood to begin with on Fusify after that red buff invade. Speaking of which, Angry Day will end up tossing out those purification beads, still looking for the final judgment charge. And kind of just a game of chicken right now.
I like Angry Day doing that. He had the range to go to sit there and be like, I could do it. And to be fair, Farrakrick was kind of in that range of health where if he did charge it to full and maybe connect, he could potentially find the kill.
I think he lives at 1 HP.
That's what I'm thinking too.
He's alive at 1 HP and Angry Day knows it. Speaking of which, Johnny knows that this invade is about to happen once he can put a stop to it. Angry Day, no beads.
They get the beads out of him. The bombs rain down, but the dash is even better from Angry Day. He gets away and gets a little stun onto Johnny with the evade and punish, but Spanify now made the rotation, relieves the pressure at the red buff for now. I like Optimus Gang's play. This could be even better. There's the final judgment. But Fusify just too tanky to be brought down.
Keep in mind, Johnny still has his blink available. You just need to let it charge. Could be wrapping around here the long way instead. Just going to look to contest these right mid Harpies. Alka trying to hand it to him, but Defender of Olympus is coming out, and now Alka could be in a world of trouble.
Ooh, the overhead kick, and actually the obelisk placed down by Popular put Alka in more trouble than he bargained for there, so it cost him his blink too. His ultimate was on cooldown, but it worked out well. At the end of the day, it cost him a couple of ults to make sure they keep the members alive. The duel lane, level 7 to level 8 so far over here. Kispanify still with a lead here.
I can't help but feel like any other assassin might have been able to confirm the kill there onto Alka. I just don't really see the benefit of a Vamana jungle so far. Maybe it's something that'll come into light as the match progresses, but
yeah, it seems Fusify and Johnny are doing this combo of big baby can't be CC'd, jump in with Athena and just pub stomp him basically. But problem is there's a bit of mobility on Exordium and they keep escaping the damage in the combo. But they've got to play on the beads, and I think that's where the key to Optimus Gang's victory is here, is the Athena and beads burning.
I also feel like this might end up being a Hasten Katana Frostbound Hammer Big Baby.
I can agree with that. At least the hastened, I think. Frostbound's a maybe taunt onto Alka connects. The damage after the fact was beautiful and Popular forced to use the shell there. I think he expected Farrakrick to find a stun that would have prevented Alka from escaping. At the end of the day, though, it's a shell on cooldown for a couple of bombs out of Farrakrick.
It was a smart play no matter what. Alka, I think, was out of there just because of Angry Day. Actually, hold that thought. Popular going to fall under fire now as he's going to end up getting a little bit more than he bargained for inside of the jungle. Angry Day way out in right field. Not going to find anybody with that final judgment, but at least the evade and punish manages to connect.
He got good poke off onto Farrakrick there, though, who's one hit from health, and that was just a normal ability casts. Interesting game so far. This is very reminiscent of what we saw in the first set of the day, where it's a lot of fighting over nothing.
Might have been nice if Angry Day still had that final judgment.
I think that's what he was aiming for, though. I actually think he was aiming for that over the wall at Farrakrick in the first place.
Oh, no, he was 100% aiming for that, but
if he would have held it.
If he would have held it.
That would have been a dead.
On a guaranteed visible target.
A dead Swagony. I should say Swagony because we don't see him as much anymore. I still think he's amazing with that skin, but we don't see it. Taunt onto Alka. That's going to bring a bit of damage out from Johnny, but Johnny's low on mana, so can't really follow up as well as he'd like to. One bomb connects from Farrakrick. Second one, a little bit more to be desired. But you can definitely see the game plan Optimus Gang have. Play through the Athena.
Very aggressive gameplay so far from both sides, I would argue.
Yep.
And initially I thought it was going to be all Exordium trying to take up the starts of a lot of these engagements, but instead it's been Optimus Gang, like you just mentioned, Indu, playing off the back of Fusify, and the follow-up couldn't be better. Athena Agni has got to be one of the most potent combinations in Smite.
Yeah, this is going to be a Magi's Cloak game for Exordium, surely, because I'm looking at what this composition that Optimus Gang have, and then you think about the stuns that Agni's going to have at range, and you think about the Athena taunts. We've not even spoke about Sibi playing Sobek yet, and when that comes to the fight, if your beads are on cooldown because of a taunt, well, then the pluck is definitely there to set up your team for more trouble.
Also looks like Farrakrick might be prioritizing cooldown reduction over everything else right now. I have a feeling that's going to end up being a Chronos Pendant, and to fully rush cooldown reduction on an Agni is a little bit unusual.
I'd rather see Rodder Tahuti here, honestly. Like a bit of a Zeus sort of plays. A lot of power on the item, and generally with an Agni, you can drop people or start a fight where people are below half health, so you're going to do more damage to them consistently.
Well, he'd get off a lot more than what that bomb just managed to do to Angry Day right now, and Angry Day already showing off just how much more Pen Boots and Bukathoth can swing for.
But look at that little slap from the umbrella of Johnny there. Just look at how much chunk it did to Angry Day's life. That's what you can see happen, but here's another play with the Athena and Sobek in tow. Life of the party. Well, this party is not one that Cozy wanted to be to, and he'll be cozily tucked into the fountain right now.
He also pulled the Fire Giant himself, but Firecrick now trying to dance with Alka in the 1v1.
He could
Alka
die.
actually falling incredibly low, but the dot damage is not enough.
Angry Day's going to fall as the rotation from Fusify, and Johnny from the right-hand side after killing Cozy comes through big. Alka will escape with his life. Take some seltzer back in the base. Heal himself up. 3-3 then. Even in gold, experience-wise, well, it's a little bit of a lead for Optimus Gang. 2,000 experience isn't all it's cracked up to be, but the level 12 is very important for the relics.
Now Ken 6 could find himself in a whole world of trouble here. Dash forward and
Good
agility
beats.
could be using, and there's just no chance for survival. Ken 6 just a little bit too far up without any vision.
Yeah, because Spotify played that really well, though. He instantly dashes in. He knows the ball's coming out, so why not beads a little bit earlier? Prevent the stun so he can confirm the kill. And at the end of the day, Ken 6, well, he traded his beads and his ultimate and still died. Ton onto Popular. The bomb rains down. The burn does too. But it's not enough for a kill just yet. The turnaround's there. And Alka puts a fist through Spotify's face.
So far, a trade out Hunter for support, and Popular probably happy to have made that sacrifice for his team. Things could have escalated in a much different direction there had Firecrack had a little bit more damage with Chronos Pendant. It's not there just yet.
Ooh, Fusify dashed and tried to hold it, looking for Alka to use the overhead kick. In the end, it didn't work out. He was planned for. His Optimus Gang had Sibi waiting in the wings for the follow-up there. Builds are coming through, and Chronos Pendant was picked up by Firecrack here. Meanwhile, Angry Day in the mid lane, going towards the Messenger's Mask we've seen a little bit more of this year. Into the Bombers too. It's Tufts, it's the odd Vulcan, and it's the Morrigan that seem to be the ones that look for this item.
Have a heavy feeling, though, this will indefinitely be a Boomba's Mask for Angry Day, or at least the T2 of it.
Yeah.
Getting that additional 30 magical power plus the 10% movement speed and cooldown reduction will be very useful in proccing that invade and punish.
Nice little work out of Cozy to drag Sibi all the way back towards the tower edge, but Sibi was not concerned at all there. Notice how he played that so well. He takes the damage, he realizes he's got his dash, he just waited until after the stun, knowing he wouldn't die, and held the ultimate. Instead, it's Cozy, the one whose ultimate is on cooldown. But Sibi gets ganked soon after by Alka. Did secure his own blue, though, which is very important for him.
Sibi just playing it safe, and definitely respect his decision to do so, knowing that two members from Exordium are close by. It's very easy to get caught out without that lurking in the water.
Nice overhead kick from Alka there. Once again, Fusify not scared to use this ultimate on cooldown with Athena, looking to set up his team for extra damage, and the taunts available too. But he won't find it this time round. Instead, it's a wasted ultimate towards the mid lane. He's farm-wise, though. He's got a 2-level lead over Popular, which says a lot about how he's playing.
Probably because he keeps ulting in every chance he gets.
Of the farm, right?
Doesn't have a option but to collect all the farm that's available in the area, unlike Popular, who's had a death. Been a part of 3 kills, though, so far out of Exordium's 4, which is important because it does show that despite not having a global ability to rotate with immediately, Popular is still having a little bit of an impact on these engagements.
Yeah, Popular on the Terror as well. I mean, he's gone for the Lotus Crown first item, which is viable. Now, this is good for keeping your teammates topped up with extra armor. The problem is it makes you a little bit more susceptible to dying earlier on because of it. And some of the reasons why you see it delayed a little bit further. Popular's expecting to die a little bit, but he's got to sit further back in these fights a little bit more and wait till he gets a couple more items online to weather the storm. At the moment, though, Optimus Gang dropping bombs over the walls. Fusify front lines for a second or two. 9 kills, approaching 15 minutes.
Johnny has started a wraparound now. Umbrella won't manage to connect with Alka thanks to a good overhead kick, but Gold Fury has been pulled, and Caspanifying Firecrack already have it down to half health.
Yeah, the rotation from the solo lane is being here. Should have been a bit of an idea for Exordium what was going on. Popular under pressure, gets taunted, has the walls down, so he's knock-up immune, but he's still dying slowly but surely. Lurking in the waters from Sibi should secure the kill. and it will do so. Johnny, meanwhile, sustains back up as the final judgment hits Farakrik, and Alka's there to make sure he turns that kill into an overall one and sends Farakrik back to base, but Alka's going to go down in trade.
Gotta be careful, though, with Cozy's rotation. Sibby's now caught up inside of the trap and taking a lot of free cast damage out of Ken 6, but he's still alive. Fusify also with that Defender of Olympus back into the action one more time. Cozy still trying to see if he can run down this Croc, but it could be Johnny who ends up in a spot of trouble. Instead, Angry Day realizing that the Vamana still had that escape, just going to shift his attention towards this T1 in mid.
Exodium really trying to find an answer back to the Gold Fury they just lost now by pressuring this tier 1, but they don't have any minions. Johnny blinked over and ate more damage than he bargained for. He's still alive for now as Fusify gets hit by the wrap-up as well, but the tower still stands, and that's the main thing from Optimus Gang's point of view. Nobody else died there. They get a Gold Fury, so it's about a 3,500 gold lead now.
No chance for Ken 6 to stick around. Also, the fact that Angry Day took the tower aggro was pretty problematic, as Caspanify does get up a successful invade into Exordium's purple buff, because there was everybody trapped up in the mid lane, focused on trying to see what they could respond to after losing the Gold Fury. Instead, it's just Optimus Gang with a full list of W's.
Yeah, it's the experience that's starting to add up too now. Obviously, we mentioned the goal, but it's about 6,500 experience, which is quite a lead for 16 minutes in the game too. Well, 7,000 experience now. This is awkward for Exordium to get themselves back into this a little bit, because these characters, yeah, they're late game, Taco, but you've got to get there first.
And Optimus Gang aren't wasting any time. The moment that they want to call for an objective, they just full on commit. Sibby gonna get a nice pluck there onto Cozy and force out the life of the party so preemptively. Optimus Gang might just be satisfied with that pullout.
I'm not sure why we saw them reset, though. Why didn't they go back towards the Pyromancer knowing that cooldown was consumed? Instead, they went back towards mid looking for a play. Get a ton off an Angry Day. He's going to take a whole world of damage as the second bomb rains down. The Aegis is consumed, but Sibby should be able to clean that up unless Farakrik answers the question first. Caspanify's rotation now making an impact as Sibby tanks up the tower, but the Rapid Up going to slow down Optimus Gang for a second, but look where Johnny is.
3-man taunt, huge on the backline, and Johnny knocking everybody up for good measure. He's going to push forward now with the Thorns, trying to cut off Popular, making sure to zone members into the T2, but Cozy is the one who's in a lot of trouble now.
Oh, he's still alive, though, and it's actually Optimus Gang that lost 2 members. Dive in the Tier 1 tower. The juggle of aggro was not good. The dive was too deep, and Optimus Gang are getting punished for it now by Exordium, who get a couple of kills in response, even that up at least. They could look at a Pyromancer here right now, Taco.
They could look at the Pyromancer, but it might still be a little bit too risky for them. Kenzix just backed, and he was on the left-hand side, so just no one going to be in position in time, I think, to pull down this Pyromancer by the time Optimus Gang respawns. Seems like Alka might be starting to take a little bit of initiative over that way, but Fusify is still in the area and could try to pose up a little bit of a defense, at least until the rest of his team rotates in.
Well, bad news bears, Alka thought he cleared out the ward there, but he hadn't. Actually going to start the fire giant up. I'm not so sure about this. Fusify's here. The respawns have all come through, barring Johnny. Sibby back in the fray, going to blink in and tail whip to cause some problems. Lurking in the waters too very early on. He's looking for damage more than the steal at this point, trying to slow down the aggression, and Alka's taking way more than bargained for. He tanked it the entire time. Farakrik gets the kill, but Sibby goes down in trade.
Look who's coming in now, because Paintify is still right around the corner. Farakrik also going to get that Defender of Olympus for the damage mitigation. Exordium will confirm the Fire Giant. Now they're all trying to scatter, because Paintify has already picked up Popular, however, and Ken 6 could be very next to follow.
Good bomb over the wall from Farakrik to find the stun, and the burning path of flames will get the Aegis too. But the big baby and the umbrella comes through for Johnny as he takes him down. The dive is way too deep for this kill on Angry Day. They could be getting objectives here. Instead, they'll farm the kills and then have to fall back for the minion wave and the Tier 2 tower.
It just felt so forced on Exordium's side. I don't really understand why they waited until everyone from Optimus Gang had respawned to go and pull the Fire Giant, but it's going to cost them heavily. That was their momentum.
They had the Pyromancer there, Taco, if they wouldn't have based straight after the fight. Instead, they had bases, they de-warded badly, they pulled the Pyromancer when the ward was still there, and then they tried to do fire when everyone turned up, and it's like, well, come on. You've got teleports. You've got 3 frontliners with the speed buff of Johnny's going to get in there quick too. Talking about that, Alka's looking for the kill against Johnny now. He doesn't have his ultimate available. The mobility, however, is keeping him alive.
boots, hasten, and a stone cutting. If the 20% movement speed wasn't enough, that speed buff is just going to add to the mix. No chance of Alka keeping up, even with the Mystic Rush, but that's another free ultimate that Optimus Gang won't have to be concerned over, mostly meaning that Firecrack and Caspanify won't have to play as defensively from the back line.
You know, it's a rough situation. There's been too much fighting. When the mid laner Tough hasn't finished off his stacks of Book of Tough yet, when it was his first item in the game. Says a lot about the state of this one. But Optimus Gang, after losing the Fire Giant, but winning the fight after the fact, got a Tier 1, Tier 2 Pyro, and now the Gold Fury. So the gold lead does stretch once more to 8,500. 12,000 experience.
The only positive thing that came out of the Fire Giant for Exordium is that at least the team was all on the same page. They were ride or dies together, and they didn't hesitate.
This TP is a terrible TP. I'm really worried for Cozy coming into the world of hate that's waiting for him. He will get the life of the party off, though. And the final judgment from Angry Day removes Caspanify. Optimus Gang now on the run for their lives. The shell was pretty impactful, but the turnaround from Optimus Gang, they're going back in.
Firecrack still perfectly healthy on the backside. Johnny gonna take care of Alka already, and he's trying to heal up as much as possible to Firecrack. That's another one added to the body count. Make it 3 because Ken6 is joining them all.
It was all a ruse from Optimus Gang, and Exordium fell for their bait. They knew after taking down Caspanify, they had a window of momentum to push back Optimus Gang. But then the positioning from Optimus Gang was good. If you notice where they were, Firecrack so far at the back, no one could reach him, and that meant the front line's cooldowns came up, and they could look for the CC, and that's just what happened to Angry Day again. Good blink from Sibi, good pluck, and that turns into a Tier 2, a Deicide, and well, this could be a Phoenix.
I'll admit, Hindu, I was skeptical when I saw Firecrack rushing the cooldown for Agni. It was unusual, and honestly, I didn't think that it would work out nearly as well as it has, but Exordium, to a certain extent, have been playing into this.
They have, and that's why it's been a bit of a strange one, because Exordium have had moments of brightness in this game as well, especially at the start where they managed to find a couple of kills. They had a 3-1 lead. The ganks in dual lane and put them in a bit of a sticky situation from Optimus Gang's point of view. But really, it's the Sobek and Athena that have come up massive.
I just can't for the life of me understand why Optimus Gang were so adamant about committing to that Fire Giant in the face of everybody from Optimus Gang responding to them. Exordium just had no business sticking around in that pit, and it was obvious as well that they weren't burning that objective either. That objective was moving slow as molasses in terms of HP.
Yeah, they didn't have the whole team there either when they started up, which made it a bit more awkward too. So now it's Optimus Gang with a power play for a moment. All Phoenixes are still alive, but there's no objectives available other than a Tier 2 tower in left. And that's where Johnny's drawing attention to the left-hand side. Fusify does end up once again using that Defender of Olympus to rotate around the map and support. But it's kind of awkward now because it's all about this Fire Giant, I guess, next in 30 seconds' time. That's what Optimus Gang will have their eyes on next.
Experience-wise also, you gotta admit, Angry Day is hurting right now in the face of Firecrack.
Hey.
Thoth has plenty of range, but Agni does too.
Hey, he's got his Book of Tough stack now, okay? He's at the next level. We're going to get there. And credit where it's due, if you look at his player damage, he's doing good things in these games, but he's just getting run down by beads burners time and time again. We need more Magi's Cloaks. And you can already see one from Alka, which is I think is a really good pickup. I would like one for Cozy too, to be honest. Maybe last item if need be, just to make sure he can hold on and eat some of these consistent CCs that are coming out time and time again.
Ken6, with the help of that Frenzy, is going to actually get some nice damage there, add on to Sibi and Fusify, but a T1 tower and Trace and trade for a Girdle, I think that I'll take that trade every day of the week. Alka, however, looking to lurk around the corner, could be trying to pincer Fusify and Sibi, but you're right, Indo. I don't see anybody dying anytime soon here between the two of them.
No, not if they stay together. Now they've got Firecrack and Caspanify on the way too. Sibi's eating a lot of poke and gets hit by the walls. The damage on Sibi's good, but he's still got a shell. Good stun onto Ken6 that gets the Aegis and the beads, I believe, off of the Artemis, as now Fusify's keeping him busy. Caspanify turning up to the fray too, as Firecrack has done a lot of the work with the bombs raining down.
Keep in mind also, Johnny is driving away the attention of Cozy and Angry Day, keeping the two of them zoned away all by himself. That's going to give Optimus Gang more than enough time to take down the other three who stuck around for way too long in that left-hand side.
Cozy may be tanky, but at the same time, he's not doing a whole ton of damage to stop Johnny running him down. Fusify's ult across here, just make sure Johnny's perfectly healthy. The rest of Optimus Gang bringing the wave down, and yep, You called it. They were split pushing Exodium, looking for a tier 2 and got baited into a fight that they should not have taken. They lose the Fire Giant, and they could very well lose the game off this push.
3 members still dead for another 15 seconds or so. Popular going to be able to respawn, but as a Terra, not a whole lot of defenses available here. It's sitting at level 14 as well.
Phoenix is slowly falling, does so. Fusified eats most of the damage out from Cozy there. There's now the attention turns towards the middle Phoenix. Obviously, Optimus Gang waiting for cooldown, so keep an eye on Fusify. As always, they're going to play it relatively safe. I think they just want the extra, farm in the jungle, finish off some items on the way back for the gold.
They're just keeping Exordium suppressed from being able to get the necessary experience to catch up. Itemization as well, severely lacking on Exordium's end in comparison to Optimus Gang. The fact that Caspanify is all but finished off with this triple crit build and has been permitted to get away with it, there isn't really anybody to slow down this Jingwei, and I'm more concerned about who Caspanify is hitting more so than Fireclick at this stage.
I always feel that whenever I see a Jingwei in the game, it's great against Baron. The reason I feel it's great against Baron is not because she's got some good self-peel, but no one's really going to go Thorns on Baron. And that's one thing that crit hunters have an issue with, is Thorns or reflect damage that comes from the likes of Nemean Lions and also, Kuzumbos, right? But if you know Baron's getting picked, you're more than likely to see that in the solo lane, which means you don't have to worry about not going crit, because not many people are going to build against it.
And that's exactly what Caspanify was already aware of, as he'll be picking up the Wind Demon to finish off that triple crit threat build. Phoenix Shred will be a little bit slower as a result, however, so Optimus Gang still need to be mindful in terms of their positioning and protection of their carries underneath these sieges.
Fusified, Sibi on the front line, they're the ones to watch on the engagement. Keep an eye on the blinks from Sibi and the dashes in from Fusified. Johnny's going to go to the left-hand side and do a bit of split pushing to bring those fire minions down the lane a little bit quicker, and if he gets lucky, he can wrap around the back like he is doing so far. Draws some attention from the enemy team.
Angry Day doing what he can to clear out the way. He's going to get taunted in and lose his beads almost instantly. Charging up that final judgment, but Johnny's on the backside one more time.
He missed everything. He missed everything, and Johnny got 3 shot at the end of the day because of it. Great work from Ken6 to manage to get down that ultimate in time as Alka takes away Sibi. The final judgment hit Fireclick and took him out as well. Caspanify on the run is Popular, double dashing to close the gap and close the walls and get the beads, but loses his life.
Caspanify with one form of a return, but still getting ran down by Angry Day. Invade and Punish is going to catch up. Aegis to follow up by Caspanify a little bit more time, but Fusify is just starting to save them all.
Hello, Titan. Is that going to die to all these fire minions pouring in? Nah, maybe.
They're chasing.
I don't know.
No one's backing.
There's a whole new wave coming in. There's a whole new wave. Someone's going to go back. Someone's going to look at the Titan.
Do they even realize it?
I don't know, but it just makes it easy.
They have no idea.
Even if it doesn't go down off these waves right now, Taco, the problem that happens is that is a weakened Titan for quite a considerable amount of time. And he's still going down. There we go. Good work, minions. Half health. That's impressive. Oh, Ken6 has stuck around too long too. Spotify got back, but ate way more poke than bargain for from Fusify. Ken6 still on the run from 3 characters that are not going to give up. And Angry Day is forced to stick around to help him now. And it's not going to be useful because Fusify will eventually be able to get his beads and his Aegis, but Spotify still alive. Sibi, though, teleports around the back. Ken6 dies, and Angry Day is next on the cards.
They just stuck around for way too long trying to siege that T2 tower. Angry Day will be able to escape thanks to that invade and punish dash.
Half a Phoenix.
They're still chasing, though. Fusify and Johnny are more than happy to keep diving in here.
Alka manages to get his buff, but will he live after the fact? Well, that Magi's cloak came up at the perfect time to avoid that pluck from Sibi. So he will survive. Left-hand Phoenix is respawning, though. So maybe this doesn't hurt Exodium as much as you think it might have. Or at least I thought it might have. Because now when that Phoenix respawns, the Titan will start to heal.
Fortunately enough for Popular, he will get some backup on clearing out these fire creeps. I think the Phoenix would have fallen again had it only been Popular, but with everything, there comes a sacrifice, and Exordium will get their left-hand Phoenix, but Optimus Gang get the Fire Giant yet again, although I'm not too sure that this is much of a victory stance for Optimus Gang after that last failed siege attempt.
I completely agree. I actually think if Exordium could defend the same way they just did, they could end the game next time. Even if there was a push down the left-hand line from the minions, they would win the race against those minions at the Titan. Let's find out if it happens, though. It's all about Angry Day and Ken6, to be honest, who have both stepped up in the later stages where they need to.
It was just too gung-ho from Johnny to go that deep. It seems like he thinks the Vamana is an AO for a second there.
I think he thinks he's tankier than he is, because his build isn't as tanky as you want it to be if you're going to be a frontline tank. He's got a lot of damage in there. Bloodforge is good for damage, so is the Katana. But then Shin's at the end, that's good for damage. The only real tanky item he's got there is that Hide of the Urchin.
I wish he would have built... Actually, hold that thought, because Cozy going to get taunted back in, plucked up and served, but still standing. Fusify, however, will take a little bit of damage, because Manify, right behind him, eating the brunt of that final judgment.
But this is okay. I mean, to be fair, a couple of the ultimate wasted out of Angry Day is not really wasted. It did 1,000 damage to Kaspanify there, but he's going to be able to regen just off the Fire Giant and the camps if needed in the jungle.
But that was the primary threat that Exordium had underneath this Phoenix. Angry Day can still do a great job of clearing out these creep waves. I do want to see Fusify be a little bit more mindful, though, as opposed to just dash taunting in. Perhaps just walking up and doing the taunt and no dash.
Well, the longer they can hold for a second, the sooner Angry Day's ultimate will be back up. But Optimus Gang got a little bit bored with what's going on in the middle lane, so they've turned their attention to the weakened Phoenix on the left-hand side again. They've got Fire Giant for about another 2 minutes here, so they've got time to whittle down some health bars like they're doing to Cozy now, who uses his ult on Fusify.
Fusify is taking a decent amount of burst damage from Ken 6, but it's not going to be enough to hold off Optimus Gang for much longer. Angry Day now looking for the primary poke out onto Kaspanify, and it's effective. One more time, Optimus Gang just getting shoved back.
Yeah, it was good work from Angry Day, though. He kept Kaspanify in check of that Phoenix there. Kaspanify stepped up on the left-hand side to start whittling down the health bar, and immediately Angry Day was left alone and just got some shots off to keep him back. Slow this pace down.
More importantly, that final judgment is available again for Angry Day, and first time around, did about 1,000 damage almost to Kaspanify.
With Bumbles.
And that was at the start of the engagement.
Plonk from Sibby, gets the beads immediately out of Ken 6. He has to look in the walls, but gets protections out from Fusify. The tank's diving deep, looking towards Cozy, and Alka's getting low too. Johnny, though, he's just giving a beat down to Ken 6. He got no help in terms of peel there. The front line was too busy. And then Johnny wraps around for the kill on Alka. Cozy's getting low, but he's healing in the fountain. Sibby gets away. Popular does too. Final judgment channeled, but doesn't find a target.
This could be the collapse that Optimus Gang were waiting for ever so patiently. Instead, they're going to redirect their attention towards this mid-hand Phoenix. They want as many minions pouring into this base as possible to try and siege against Exordium. Cozy, Popular, and Angry Day have all had opportunities to heal up in that fountain, but can they resist falling to Optimus Gang?
It's looking good for Optimus Gang again. I mean, the 6-0 looking for number 7. They find Cozy, and the burst is too much. Farrakrick's bombs rain down once more, and all I've said is Fusify, taunt, Farrakrick, bomb, Civvy, pluck. That's all the game's been so far, as Popular and Angry Day try to stop the Titan falling, but it's going to be in vain. Optimus Gang close out the day with yet another victory in the SMITE Minor League.
Ken 6 and Alka were so close to respawning, but they just couldn't hold on long enough to get their carries back up and running. And I gotta say, that was just really well played by Optimus Gang towards that left-hand Phoenix seed, recognizing that mid was a little bit too much. They didn't want to risk wiping again, I think, and so going for the weakened Phoenix was the right shot call there.
The Fire Giant call there from Alka and the team. I'm calling him Alka because he's the first one to hit it. But I'm not so sure if that was the right call, and I think that's where the game got away from it completely.
It was all even. I would argue that it was indefinitely even between the two teams, and I would say that even then, Exordium was slightly ahead of Optimus Gang. It felt like they had a lot more control over those jungle engagements as opposed to Optimus Gang, who were kind of struggling, especially since Fusify was kind of just tossing out Athena ultimates left to right and center, and so it was difficult, I think, for Optimus Gang to keep track of where Exordium were at. And then Exordium just do them all a favor and say, hey, you guys want to wipe us while we commit to a Fire Giant?
Well, good work from Optimus Gang. You guys at home, vote for your MVP. We'll talk about the MVPs shortly. Well, with how things have worked out so far, did today's standings go exactly as you expected?
I think that I was still impressed by Optimus Gang. I do feel like Exordium maybe could have won that set, and MVP, honestly, would have to be whoever called that Fire Giant.
Well, the good news is if you just tuned into the minor league and you didn't get to catch most of the European action, we've got the desk standing by to break down each game and go through exactly what happened today.
Thanks, Hindi. Thanks, Taco. for closing it out for us, it's going to be Finch and Aggro here to tell you a little bit more about what went on throughout the day. And if you didn't watch, it was actually a pretty exciting day. You might want to go back and check out those VODs because some of those games might not have gone the way that you expected them to. I guess we should start just talking about this first one that we just saw, right?
Sure.
This Exordium Optimus Gang set that kind of closed the day out at the end. Exordium had 2 games today, so it's Optimus Gang, but really it's Optimus Gang that come out looking good.
Very much so. Man, a tough day for Exordium because, as Taco said towards the end there, it really felt like they had a chance to win this set. It's just that Optimus Gang's experience kind of shines through. The lack thereof of Exordium shines through. The same thing that happened in their game right before this, but we'll get to that in a moment. Optimus Gang just able, when you're a top-end team, you will have days and you will have games that you aren't playing at peak capacity. You aren't playing your absolute best. And being able to win those games is a great skill, and I think that Optimus Gang really displayed that very well. However, I will say I'm not a big fan of let's give our jungler who's carried so many games for us on gods like Aokwang and Bakasura Vamana.
Well, I'm right there with you because it wasn't as strong as it is when he's able to play things at the Aokwang, right? He still certainly has a good game.
Yeah, he played well.
But you're right. He was maybe a bit limited on it. Either way, he is the one that ends up winning y'all's MVP vote in the end. Johnny, no big surprise that he's the one that ends up getting selected. But I would say early on there was a bit of some struggles. Maybe not struggles, but just not as big an impact as he was able to have once they started grouping up, especially around those sieges, and the big baby was able to start really bringing the noise.
I mean, Vamana jungle does this. It kills ADCs that don't have mobility very well. It can chase you down pretty well, but a lot of assassins can do things like this and bring that incredible burst damage later on. It worked, but I still prefer to see Johnny on the things that feel like they're more in his wheelhouse.
But now it's back to the drawing board for Exordium, isn't it? This is right sort of at the precipice with Insignum, and we'll talk about their game a little bit earlier on, with them dropping, with Milky Way even dropping right before them, right? The door was kind of open for this Exordium team to pick up 2 tough wins, I would say, up against Optimus Gang for sure. Maybe the one against Sacred Speed Buff they should get, but they needed to be able to grab that win and try and move up ahead in those standings. Now, though, they take those 2 losses, that's going to drop them down. That really hurts.
Brutal, especially the one up against Sacred Speed Buff, where it feels like Sacred Speed Buff, they get off to a very good start, and then it's a weird grouping from Sacred Speed Buff. Exordium punishes beautifully. Angry Day hits a huge ultimate. Kha'Zix is there with a Blink Sobek knockup. And then they just ram their heads against the wall of sieging for 15, 20 minutes, and they just can't get it done. Alco really struggled during his role in that siege opportunities, and then Sacred Speed Buff able to get the lead back, get a Fire Giant or 2, and close out the game from there.
Yeah,
that was certainly a tough loss for Exordium.
Yeah, those Exordium, or those just Phoenix sieges in general, are kind of not as easy, I think, as people are expecting, even with those big leads, and that is made a lot harder when you've got a Habwa on the other side that's like blinking onto your backline, causing problems. That was equality for Sacred Speed Buff, who is finding all those shots, and it's equality for Sacred Speed Buff, who gets the MVP, and I think well deserved.
He was kind of the equalizer in this one, where it was the big lead for the other side, but he was able to come in and make the team fights a little bit more even for Sacred Speed Buff. This was great play by Equality, great play by Exordium, but at the end of the day, by Sacred Speed Buff, but at the end of the day, Exordium is definitely going to feel like they let this one go, and I would agree with them.
And I think that the real problem, and you kind of highlighted it, really did come down to the way they did those sieges, Alka in particular, when they branched him off. I think when it was him and Equality initially around that mid-Phoenix, it was okay. They brought Big SB over instead.
Right.
He wasn't handling that one correctly. Their rotation over to right Phoenix wasn't good, and Equality was there to punish with that blink onto the back line.
It was tough to stop, that's for sure, and Exordium's going to have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to siege properly in those moments, and hope that they get another opportunity to have a close game. I mean, now they basically have to beat Insignum if they have any hope whatsoever, and they would need help, so it's not looking good for them.
It's definitely starting to clump up a little bit. One of the sets that sort of led to that big clumping is set 2, where Milky Way goes up against the Poppies, right? And that's one that I think you might have been expecting based on recent performance to go Milky Way's way, right? Milky Way kind of won 2 sets last week. They've been looking strong. Poppies have had their struggles, but it was anything but here today. I mean, the Poppies kind of just steamrolled them, didn't they?
20 minutes, right? I mean, it was really, really quick in that one. About 20 minutes for the Poppies to find that victory. Milky Way, I don't know that it's fair to say that I'm really down on this roster now after a loss like that, just because it's when you get stomped that unequivocally, it almost feels like that's just not your day.
Yes, I think those are easier to shake off.
Right, exactly. Than the ones like Exordium had today, where they lose 2 close ones. That's a little bit tougher to swallow. I think that Milky Way's still okay, but watch out for the Poppies, man. If Julio is able to play like that alongside Worst Turtle like he did today,
yes,
then it's going to be very difficult to stop.
And it really was the two of them. I believe it was Julio who found first blood on that gank attempt into the solo lane, in particular up against Sixer. That really helped out for him. It was the blue buff was the focus for them early on in this game. Him and Julio and Worst Turtle routinely were ganking over there, able to get far enough ahead with that lead. That's not to say anything for Chekio as well in that dual lane. He really outclassed Boss, who I believe had a role swap, right? I think he normally played Guardian. He came over to that Hunter role for him to try and fill that in. It was Echrome who was in that slot with them before, now Boss there. So maybe it's just some growing pains if they want to go at that going forward. But Chekio made it look easy.
He really did, and the rest of the Poppies did as well. Warchi played Freya. His Agni was banned away in this game, but was still able to make it work pretty well with the Freya. As Warchi continues to get more comfortable, as the Poppies continue to coalesce, there's going to be a tough team to stop.
It's not going to be easy for them at all. If Poppies can keep playing like that. But that's the question, really. Who can consistently play well? Right now, it's just Optimus Gang who's able to consistently play well, and they did that in our first set here today where they went up against Insignum, right? That one was a doozy, and we expected it to be. It didn't look easy for them. Insignum looked good early on in that set for my money, I would say, but Optimus Gang kind of came back towards the end off of who else but Johnny on Alquang.
Exactly. Surprise, surprise. It's always Johnny on Alquang when it goes late for Optimus Gang, it feels like. I do think that Death Panther in particular had a really good game for Insignum. He was playing Opwash and had really good ultimate timings to keep fights from going in Optimus Gang's way in the jungle. But Johnny was just such a nuisance, and Insignum really hesitated on a lot of Fire Giant calls. This is the one that ultimately ends up losing in the game, where Genetics walks straight into Johnny's clutches. If you're at 38 minutes and Alquang is full health and just executed someone, you have lost. Like that fight is over basically right away, almost no matter what you do afterwards, and that ends up happening. A couple Fire Giants stolen away from Insignum. They have to do a better job. It was really just objectives that lost Insignum this game, because I felt like they looked like the better team as a whole. It's just that their objective play was so lackluster that it opened the door for Optimus Gang. I mean, look at this. It
just walks in, takes it.
It's a soul. Like with her ultimate down, you can body block Stellar Burst. it stops on minions. Like you can do anything to stop that. And Optimus Gang just is able to steal that away, and that kept them alive and kept them getting momentum, and then the late game happens and Johnny happens.
Yeah, it's a lot of work Insignum's got to do, I think, if they want to beat these top-end teams, because they were doubled up in kills over Optimus Gang for the majority of that game, but they couldn't turn that into an actual lead. They get the early gold fear, I think twice in that one, but it always was equalizing the game rather than pushing them ahead. Somehow they were getting just over and over again out-farmed by Optimus Gang. So I agree with you. There's a lot that this Insignum team needs to work on. And I think that there was, some hard feelings for Insignum. They felt like they lost the best of one. Maybe they could have had a chance if it had been longer, and that they had to live with that whole split. Well, no longer is that the case. They have lost now twice to Optimus Gang, heads up, and they knew what the game plan was going to be the whole time, and they just lost.
And I wonder if that was the exact composition they wanted against Alquang.
Sure.
Johnny was still able to do great work with it. I don't know. I think that Insignum, I definitely understand that they felt like they were still the better team even after losing to Optimus Gang. And I think they could, us sitting up here on the desk saying, oh, Optimus Gang, probably the best team in Europe right now, is starting to get under their skin a little bit.
Yeah.
This was their opportunity to make us stop saying that and make us talk about them again. But Optimus Gang's the best team in the European minor league right now.
That's exactly how it is. I mean, they proved it twice now, and until you can stop them, then that's just how it's going to be. Let's go ahead and take a look right now at how everything ends up shaking up after that full day of action. Again, these are the matches that we went over throughout the day. We started with Insignum versus Optimus Gang, where Optimus Gang came out on top. Milky Way against Poppies, maybe a bit of a surprise as well, with Poppies struggling some. Sacred Speed Buff finding a win, and Optimus Gang closing it out with that perfect record. The good news for Insignum is it looks like they did win offline.
That's right. And so Milky Way, for as good as their week was before,
that's true,
had a horrendous week this time around. So that team seems to be very hot or cold depending on the week. They either go 0-for or 2-0.
Yeah, well, we can go ahead and take a look at exactly where all these teams ended up standing as well in the back end. Optimus Gang looking untouched there at the top. But the good news is for Insignum, this is, aside from beating Optimus Gang, this is the best way it could have went, right? Because now it's super clumped up down there at the bottom. Exordium and Milky Way were 3 and 4 before the day, but they dropped their sets, which really clumps it up down there at the bottom, but clumps it up where no one's close to them. That's exactly what they want.
Optimus Gang is confirmed top 3. I believe Insignum only needs to win one more game the rest of the split, and they are guaranteed top 3. And then who the hell knows between Sacred Speed Buff, Poppies, Exordium, and Milky Way. who knows what's going to happen in these final 2 weeks. Again, you must finish top 3.
Yes.
That will send you into the round-robin playoff where you play best of 3s against the other 2 top 3 teams, and then the winner of that will end up coming to HRX.
And that's where everybody's trying to make it. It's not an easy path for these minor league teams, but I mean, if you want a shot at the big boys, then you got to earn it. And whoever gets there can very unequivocally say they earned it. I mean, it is not a difficult path for whoever makes it there, but that's where everyone's trying to go. HRX is that ultimate goal. A little bit easier for you all at home. HighResExpo.com, November 16th through 18th. Pick up those tickets and just make sure that you're there. It's in downtown Atlanta now. It's a really nice area. Lots going on. DreamHack's a big event. Oh, and by the way, the SMITE World Championship, Console World Championship, Paladins World Championship, Paladins Console, all that's there too. I know you want to see it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you buy your tickets. You'd be a fool to not come to Hi-Res Expo if you had the opportunity.
That's right. Let's say maybe you can't go. Fine. Figure out a way to do it anyway, I would say. But let's say that you can go. You got the means. You can do it. Then do it. There's no reason. You can't persuade me why you shouldn't. Go.
Agreed.
It's very cut and dry to me.
That's why I'm leaving you out to dry right now, because it is that
It
simple.
really is, yeah.
If you can,
that awkward silence wasn't for me. It was for you.
Yeah.
Go.
it was to set the guilt in if you aren't already buying a ticket.
But certainly we want y'all to be able to make it there. If that's something that you can do, make it happen. And then right afterwards is going to be the after party. $50 gets you in the door. HRXafterparty.eventbrite.com. We've already talked about this.
My turn now. Okay, so if you're already coming to HRX and you already have the means and you got there and you're having a great time and then you don't go to the after party, what are you doing? Like, where did you go wrong in life to not go to the after party after going to DreamHack Atlanta? It is absolutely the place to be. Get your ticket. It will be well worth the cost of admission. You are an absolute buffoon if you go to HRX and you don't come to the after party. We like good cop, bad cop, and then swapped.
That's right. Yeah, it's my job to leave that awkward silence there because, again, it's for you on that one. You got to make sure that you go. It's a ton of fun. Everyone had such a great experience last time. You're going to enjoy it. But that's only Europe. Can you believe it? It felt like a long day of just back and forth action. You couldn't predict how it's going to go, and it's only Europe. I imagine North America is only going to be more exciting. That'll be tomorrow. Come back at the same time, 11 a.m. Eastern, to make sure you don't miss a minute of the action. And we're not even done today. SPL is going to be starting at 3 p.m. Eastern, which I believe is only about an hour away. So you want to make sure that you're right back here for that too.
That's right. You better be back here at 3 o'clock.
What is this? What are you doing?
Just continue.
Okay, I'm going to keep on going while Ryan does whatever the thing is that he's doing. But I appreciate everybody from coming in, watching the show one more time. Thank you for being here. We'll be back in tomorrow. Make sure you're here for the SPL at 3 p.m.
Peach it. That's what it says here.